The Nerd Next Door. Unexpected Love Book 2. Written by L. Lauren. Chapter 1. Griffin. By some miracle, his mother had made it to the airport and was waiting for him in the arrival section. Griffin Rowe wheeled a hard-sided luggage bag out to the old family hatchback and tossed it in the backseat. Then he walked around to the front and knocked on the glass. His mother rolled down the window, and her wrinkled features smoothed as she locked eyes with her son. "I missed you." Griffin and his mother shared the same watery blue eyes, the same plump lips, and the same cascade of thick dark hair. "I missed you too. Are you driving back home, or are you going to let me?" "Oh, you drive. I'm tired anyway." She climbed out of the driver's seat and walked around the car. Griffin took her place, adjusting the seat and steering wheel for his height. "I told you to let someone else come pick me up." He shifted gears and drove away. The tiny airport was 45 minutes away from the town where he had graduated high school and where his mother still lived. The little spit of a town didn't even make a mark on the map. His graduating high school class had 55 kids in it, and the whole school was just under 300. Out of the 55 kids he graduated with, he won the award for being most likely to have a pen leak through his pocket protector and most likely to stay a virgin. The yearbook was right on one account. He definitely needed stock in pocket protectors. Griffin had boarded an airplane for college 2 months after high school ended. Airplanes had taken him all over the world. His last stop had been Japan. He studied the arts of herbal medicine and meditation there, until his mother's doctor called him. She had started showing signs of Alzheimer's. It ran in the family. So, Griffin wrapped up his studies and boarded an airplane back to Nowheresville, USA. His mother clucked her tongue. "I couldn't let anyone else welcome my only child home. It's been so long since I've seen your face." 10 years, Mama. The longest 10 years. I wish you hadn't stayed gone so long." "Well, I'm here now. And I'm glad." She squeezed his shoulder. "Everyone's going to be so happy to see you. You know, my women's book club have been asking about you ever since they found out you were flying home." "Who?" "Mrs. Everett and Mrs. Cook." She nodded. "And Mrs. Seabrook. They've been asking me all about your job, and I'm sorry but I don't know what to tell them." "Why are they concerned anyway?" Griffin wrinkled his dark eyebrows, stealing a glance at his mother before turning back to the road. "They're just curious is all. I told them you did something with body alignment." "I mean, yeah. Why? Should I come to book club and tell them all about my job 1 week?" "Ooh. You know what, you should. You could join book club too if you wanted," his mother hinted. "Isn't it a women's only book club? We can make an exception." Griffin groaned. "But I don't like to read." "You don't have to like to read." "Well, Mama, it's a book club. Don't you have to like reading to join it?" No. We meet and talk first and then we have brunch and read a few chapters afterwards. It's the only way to keep up with all the local gossip. Mrs. Cook knows everything about everyone." "Okay, and why would I be interested in small-town gossip?" "Because so much can go on in a week, that's why. Let me tell you, just last week we heard 2 of your classmates are getting a divorce after being married since high school graduation." "Shocker." Griffin rolled his eyes then bit his bottom lip. Have you heard anything about Kyrie?" "Who?" "Kyrie. You know, the sports star. He was good at every single sport known to man. We used to throw a town-wide birthday party for him every year." Yes, I know Kyrie, but my question is why are you asking? I thought you didn't care about any town gossip." "I don't care, but I was wondering if he's still around." His mother's blue eyes glittered. "Oh, he's around all right. He's very much around all the time." "I don't know what you're hinting at." "I'm telling you what you want to know, dear. Though, I can't believe after all these years you still have your little crush on him." Griffin's cheeks warmed, and he scrubbed them as he turned into the familiar subdivision of his childhood. Houses that loomed over him on his walks to and from school were now tiny and shrunken with age. I don't still have a crush on him, I'm just curious. Well, all right then. He's still around. He inherited his parents' house at the end of the block, and he works in town. Is he a contractor or lawyer or something? No, indeed. He runs our one and only animal shelter. I heard he worked at the zoo a couple hours from here, training and working with animals. He worked at the veterinary office, too. Then he came back to town and has been rescuing all the stray dogs around town. How is it working for him? You know, I'm not so sure. Griffin pulled into the driveway of a faintly yellow house and turned off the engine. I heard something else too. What else? I heard he's gay. Well, I didn't hear it, I saw it. He had a cute little boyfriend when he came back. What happened to his boyfriend? Not so sure. His mother scratched her chin. If you came to book club, you could ask Mrs. Cook directly. I bet she could give you the whole story. Thanks, Mama, but no thanks. What are you guys even reading? Women's magazines on decorating and planning the perfect Thanksgiving dinner. His mother chuckled. Oh no, silly. The ladies are obsessed with this new category of books. I think they call it dark romance? Oh. Okay, yeah, not listening anymore. I quite like them, actually. They're very erotic. Moom. Stop, please. Dear God, please stop. With another chuckle, his mother fell silent as she climbed out of the car and disappeared inside the house. Griffin unloaded his suitcase and wheeled it up the driveway and over a loose metal threshold. Gotta fix that, he muttered, lifting his suitcase and dropping his keys on the side table. He deposited his suitcase in his room and then browsed the kitchen. The refrigerator was empty aside from spoiled milk and a few old casserole dishes. Mama. In here, she replied from the master bedroom she shared with his father until the day he died. His father's death was an old wound for the both of them. He had fallen ill and had slowly wasted into nothing. In some ways, death had been a relief for them all, because the pain had gone away. He crossed his arms over his chest as he stepped into the bedroom doorway. I'm going to go grocery shopping. There's nothing to eat around here. There's string bean casserole Mrs. Cook left. Like I said, there's nothing to eat. I'll be back in a few hours. Get me some lemon cream pies while you're out. Griffin blinked. Mama, you don't need those. They're full of sugar. Yes, but I like them. She smiled, triumphant in her declaration. Yes, but never mind, fine. I'll get you your lemon pies. Lemon cream. The cream is important. Griffin waved. See you in a bit, Mama. He climbed back in the vehicle and drove to the local grocery store, the only grocery store within an hour of their house. 20 years ago, the store had been called Swegman, but now it bore the name Piggly Wiggly. Everyone called it the Pig. Griffin parked and tucked his keys in his pocket as he wheeled a basket to the entrance. A young boy with Coke bottle glasses and a string bean body greeted him with a crooked smile. He reminded Griffin of himself. Welcome to Piggly Wiggly, the boy said, handing Griffin the store's daily paper. We've got a great sale on apples this week. He smiled. Thanks. He placed the store newspaper in his basket and wheeled towards the fresh food section, pausing in front of the open vegetables dampened with chilled water, squinting at all the prices. Well, if it isn't Griffin Rowe, a deep southern voice drawled. He recognized the voice immediately. Hey, Madison. Griffin turned, plastering an easy smirk on his face. Madison Kelly had been his best friend through middle school and high school, but while he went off to college, she stayed and married her high school sweetheart, River Banks. She shimmied up to Griffin, hugging him around the shoulders and then rearing back. Hazel eyes studied him. Ooh, you look so good. She hugged him again. You too. I can't believe you're a mother of 4. I saw pictures of the new baby all over social media. She's so cute. Ocean? Yeah, she's a great baby. River's with them right now, giving me a break from mommy duty to get all the grocery shopping done. Huh. Is he really giving you a break if you're doing the grocery shopping? Griffin lifted his eyebrows, lips cracking into a smile. Oh, absolutely. I can spend all day doing this, and he wouldn't know any different. So tell me about you. I heard your mom talking about you coming home, but I didn't believe it. Yeah, I'm back for a while. I'm glad to hear it. You have to come over for dinner sometime soon, and we have to catch up on everything. Plus, my kids have to meet Uncle Griffin. She smiled. Yeah. So how's River? He's good. He's a police officer, and he does a little real estate on the side of it. Not too much, but it allows me to be a stay-at-home mom. What about you? Since you're back, do you plan to get a job or something? Griffin shrugged, still smiling. Yeah, I have to get a job. I don't have any sexy men willing to pay all my expenses for me. He poked his tongue out. It's okay though. I'm a licensed massage therapist. I was thinking about starting a business doing only house calls. Is that a thing? Madison quirked her tailored eyebrows. I don't know, but it's going to be, because I don't want to pay all the nonsense for a building. I'm with you there. You know, the girls in the mommy group I started a few years ago would all love massages. Once you get an idea for a setup, let us know, okay? Yeah, sure thing. Griffin chewed his bottom lip, glancing around the store. You know, it's awkward being back. This place feels so small now, but I remember how it felt so big before. Yeah. It feels small to me too. I had all these plans, but then kids came, and the plans went out the window. Madison sighed. Maybe we can take a weekend trip somewhere. I mean, your youngest is nearing a year. Besides, when's the last time you took a vacation? Never, hun. I've never taken a vacation ever. Yeah, oh yeah. You're past due for a weekend getaway. Hell, talk to the ladies in your mommy group, and maybe some of them want to pitch in and we can all go somewhere together. The more the merrier, right? Right. Oh, that sounds so fun. I can't wait to ask the girls. Anyway, Madison squeezed Griffin in another smothering hug. I need to get back to shopping. I'll talk to you later. With a giggle, she returned to her basket and sauntered down the aisles. Griffin turned back to the fruits and vegetables, bagging a little of everything before weaving through the aisles, grabbing dry and canned goods before sneaking in guilty pleasures from the frozen section. By the time he reached the register, his basket overflowed with groceries, and the young man at the door had moved from the entrance to behind the register. You find everything all right? He prompted as he slid Griffin's groceries over the counter. Yeah, I did. I found a little more than I needed, actually. Griffin's cheeks colored, and he adjusted his glasses on his nose. You're at your Griffin Row, right? He blinked. Why, yeah, why? The founder of the local chess club. The guy who started Thursday game night at the library. Oh. Griffin scrubbed his cheeks. Yeah. I'm Griffin. You're like a hero around these parts. Man, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have chess club and Thursday game night. What games did you play back when you started? A little of everything, really, not just strategy games. Oh well. You know, the whole club would be honored if you stopped by one Thursday. Griffin laughed. Really? Well, you know what? I'll think about it. Is it still at 6:30? Yep, right and sharp. Smiling, Griffin stuffed his now bagged groceries back into his cart. Perfect. I'll come check it out. The boy handed Griffin a folded receipt. Awesome. Oh wait. Do you need help loading all this into your car? Nah, I got it. But thanks again. Griffin waved him off, wheeling the cart away from the register and back to his vehicle. Chapter 2. Kyrie. Kyrie Jenkins finished up his list of morning chores as 3 rescue dogs played in the fenced backyard. The dogs circled his heels, and he chuckled, shooing them away as he dumped trash in a metal bin, securing the top. He led the dogs back through the house with an easy whistle, and they squeezed past him, running from the back door to the kitchen where they pranced, bodies wiggling as Kyrie lazily followed them. All right. I'm getting your food," he rumbled, as he scooped multicolored kibble from another metal bin, mixing it with a few slices of apple and a dollop of pureed pumpkin. The dogs yapped and bolted from the kitchen to the den, where 4 other dogs had already been fed and were relaxing after their exercise and breakfast. The other crated dogs looked up as they barreled in. "Okay, Spooks." He tapped an open crate stacked on top of a larger one. A black and white dog leapt into the crate, and he slid the bowl of food in after him, latching the kennel and clipping it with a carabiner. Spooks licked the bars of the crate before diving into his food. Kyrie's hard features softened. "Yeah, I love you too," he murmured, opening the next crate. It was another stacked crate, and this time he slid the bowl of food in first, before placing his hands on his hips and looking down at a pot-bellied pit bull. "Okay, Ma, you ready for this?" He squatted and scooped her into his arms. With a few snorts and a bit of wiggling, she climbed into the crate after her food. The last dog, a skinny little brown thing, whipped his tail back and forth, darting from corner to corner as he waited for his bowl. As Kyrie reached for the door of the crate, the dog jumped from the ground and rammed into the metal bars. The dog yelped and tumbled backwards. Kyrie sighed. "Dude, chill for a second." He ran a hand along the dog's spine. "You're good, buddy." He blocked the dog from the crate door as he opened it, and then stepped away, letting the dog jump up a second time and sliding the bowl of food in there with him. With all the dogs fed, he collected the bowls, rinsed them, and stashed them in a second dishwasher. He made himself a quick meal, and as he took his first bite, someone knocked on his door. Kyrie sighed and dragged himself to his feet again. 1 second. He pulled a sweaty t-shirt over his head, exchanging it for a clean, dry, sleeveless shirt as he approached the door. He opened it. "How can I help?" "Oh, Kyrie. I was coming to pick up Missy. I know I'm a bit early, but I just got back from vacation, and I wanted to pick her up before I went home." "Hey, Mrs. Seabrook. It's fine. I just finished my morning routine with everyone. I gave her medication and some blueberries and ginger for her hips. I noticed she was a little stiff, so I thought it may help. Blueberries and ginger help with inflammation." "Really? I didn't know. Thanks for doing that. Do I owe you any extra?" "Nah. I'm happy as long as she feels good. Come in. You can take a seat in the living room while I bring her out for you." Kyrie stepped aside and the gray-haired woman walked into his place. "You know, I never would have pegged you for an animal lover, but my little Missy loves you so much. She gets so excited when she knows she's coming here." Kyrie shrugged, scrubbing his mahogany cheeks. "Yeah, I guess it's a shock, but I've always loved animals, really." "Well, I thought you would play pro." "Oh, the whole town was rooting for you, you know. You were such a star player." His cheeks darkened even more as he closed the door behind the woman. "Thanks. Yeah, I considered it, but I don't know. I think this is so much more rewarding. I love being able to rehabilitate and rehome dogs. It's obvious. Missy's been a great dog, really. I can't believe someone didn't want her." "Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, hang on." Once Mrs. Seabrook settled in the living room, Kyrie wandered to the den and released Missy from her crate. He scooped the fluffy brown dog into his arms, and she licked his stubbled chin. "Your mama's here for you, sweetie." He scratched the dog behind her pointed ears and carried her in the crook of his arm through his house back to the living room. "There's my baby." Missy's tail wiggled and her ears twitched. She yapped, shaking her whole little body in Kyrie's arms. He placed the dog on the ground, and she trotted up to Mrs. Seabrook, putting her paws on the woman's leg. "Someone's so happy." Mrs. Seabrook picked Missy up and cradled her in her arms. "I can get all your medicine for you. I went ahead and divided up all your pills so you don't have to do it later." "My God. You're the sweetest thing. How are you even still single? Well, you know, the room of 7 special needs dogs really helps. Kyrie laughed. I'm fine, Mrs. Seabrook. When do you get a break? Who watches your babies when you want to take a weekend off? I don't get a weekend off. I haven't in years. It's just me here, but it's not so bad when I only have a few dogs. I've got a few transports scheduled for the end of the month. Spooks and Buddy are going up north, and then I'll be down to a handful. The woman sighed. Oh, honey. You have to take breaks or you'll get burnt out. How about this? If you can't take a weekend vacation, how about at least get a massage or something? I'm sure working with dogs every day has your alignment all over the place. A massage wouldn't be bad. Yeah. She opened her pocketbook and dug out a sharp business card with a minimalist logo on it. Kyrie took it and flipped it over, squinting at the text. Griffin. Griffin Rowe? Oh yeah, he's back in town. Since when? It's been a few weeks now. No one told you. You haven't seen him? I know. I haven't. I guess I really don't get out much. He turned the card over in his hands. In-home massage? He's amazing. He came to my place before I went on vacation. MNF. I feel great. Mrs. Seabrook smiled. You know what, I'll buy you a session. It's my gift to you. Ah. Mrs. Seabrook, you really don't have to buy me. No, I insist. When can I schedule it? Oh, or I'll just have him call to schedule the appointment with you after I pay for an hour. You can get the massage or the chiropractic services. Ah. Why yeah, okay. Why yeah. I saw him the other day at the Pig too. He looks good. He's a very handsome young man. Words burned on Kyrie's tongue. He knew Griffin had grown into a good-looking man. Griffin had always been a good-looking man with wise eyes and sharp features. Kyrie even loved his lean body. Griffin's idea of a sport had been chess, or maybe the thing he did at the library on Thursday nights, but he didn't join any of the sports teams and he took his licks for it. Kyrie never participated in teasing Griffin, but he never stopped it either. The teasing got worse when Griffin announced he was gay. Kyrie's heart thundered in his chest at the confession, because he'd always felt something between them, a little spark of attraction, something primal and physical, but he never explored it. Kyrie was popular and Griffin wasn't. Kyrie had an image to maintain, and having queer Griffin on his arm on prom night wasn't the way to do it. Instead, he took some girl whose name he couldn't remember now. He remembered how she cried when she realized he hadn't purchased a hotel for the night. He remembered how relieved he was when no one appeared on Griffin's arm except Madison, who gave him complimentary dances all night. I bet, Kyrie agreed. Much more attractive than the little city boy you were with a few years ago. Carter. Yeah, I bet. Kyrie's voice roughened as he pocketed the card. Thanks again, Mrs. Seabrook. I should probably get back to my lunch, now. Right. I forgot you were eating. Listen, I'll give Griffin a call, and he'll call you to set up an appointment time with him. Mrs. Seabrook jumped from the couch, still holding Missy, and strolled to the front door. It's no problem. Yeah. Yeah, I'll wait for his call. You could, or you could go see him. He's back in his old place at the end of the block. You know the one. Mrs. Seabrook winked and let herself out, waving over her shoulder at Kyrie as she approached her vehicle. Kyrie lingered in the doorway as she jumped in her car and started the engine. Then he closed the door behind him and finished his lunch. For the afternoon, he started his routine again, taking sets of dogs outside as he worked through his evening chores. He washed bedding and mopped the floors in between short training sessions. As he put a trio of dogs away, his cell phone buzzed in the pocket of his basketball shorts. The number was unknown, but he put it to his ear anyway. Hello? He nestled the cell phone between his shoulder and his cheek. Hi. This is Griffin. Mrs. Seabrook paid for an appointment for you. His voice had grown deeper over the years, and Kyrie shivered. Why yeah. I told her not to, but she seems to think I need it. You don't have to. You can consider it a donation if you want. She told me you work with animals every day with no breaks, so I really think you need it too. Why yeah. Kyrie's voice hitched and he squeezed his eyes shut. You know, it's good to hear your voice. This is a business call. When should I set up an appointment for you, Kyrie? Tomorrow, I guess? Is tomorrow okay? Sure, tomorrow's fine. Do I need to do anything specific before you get here? No, I have a table, so as long as there's space for me to set up, you're fine. I'll bring everything I need. Oh. Kyrie bit his lip. Well then I guess I'll see you tomorrow. What time? After lunch, like 3 o'clock. Perfect, Griffin replied. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I heard you live in your parents' house? Yeah, I do. Cool. Then, I'll see you tomorrow. See you. Kyrie ended the call and pressed his lips to his cell phone. His heart fluttered in his chest and a little smile crept to his face. He performed the rest of his chores with a smile on his face, letting Sally, an old corgi mix, join him in his bed. Chapter 3. Griffin. Tomorrow came too quickly for Griffin, who had lain awake in bed the whole night, reliving nightmares from his high school days. It had always been River, his twin brother Rex, Aaron, and Kyrie. It wasn't that Kyrie participated in the tormenting, but he was always there. He never stopped it, so it was the same thing as joining in. Griffin wasn't looking forward to their appointment. He'd heard from his mother that Kyrie had changed. Apparently he was gay, and had some cute gay boyfriend a few years ago. And he ran a dog rehabilitation and rescue center, and did great things for the community, but all Griffin thought about was his smug expression and arrogant laughter from their childhood. Rocks formed in his stomach as the hours ticked by, until the sun floated back into the sky. He yawned and covered his eyes with his forearm as his alarm blared on his bedside table. It was Wednesday, which meant his mother had a doctor's appointment and brunch with her friends. During her doctor's appointment, Griffin researched innovations in his field. During her brunch date, he wandered from the restaurant to the local library and camped in the back with a book over his lap. By the time he dropped her off back at the house, his nerves had gone from nagging to tortuous. I heard you have an appointment at Kyrie's house today. Heard from who exactly, Mama? Oh, Mrs. Cook, of course. According to Mrs. Cook, Mrs. Seabrook went over there yesterday to pick up her little dog Missy and convinced him to schedule an appointment with you. I heard she paid you double your regular salary because you didn't want to take Kyrie as a client. Well, the last part you heard wrong. I'm a professional. I wouldn't change my price just because of childhood drama. We're not children anymore. So, you do have an appointment with Kyrie today? Yeah, I do. Oh. Her face brightened. Don't get excited. Just because we're both gay doesn't mean we're suddenly going to elope and adopt a little child from a foreign country. Plus, from what I remember, he's a jackass. Language. Right. He's a motherfucking jackass. Griffin's mother slapped his shoulder. Be nice. He's been through a lot since you've been gone. He's not the same person you knew before. You're telling me to give my high school bully a chance? I'm telling you to leave your judgments at the door. It's been years. You two are different people now. Griffin blinked and looked over his mother's head. I have to pack up. He turned for the garage, grabbing a bag of supplies and a fold-down table, hooking it over his shoulder. Griff, honey. Look, I get maybe he's different now, but he and his friends made my life hell for 4 years. 4. And I haven't heard one apology yet, so I'm sorry if I'm being jaded or whatever, but I need more. His mother grabbed her elbows. Fine. I just think it would be sweet if after all your travels, you still settled down with someone here. My options are slim here, Mama. Plus, I'm not really interested in dating in the first place. I'm focusing on my business. She sighed. I know. I just want to see you happy is all. I know, but Kyrie isn't it. He's not going to be it. Ever. Griffin hugged his mother's shoulders, kissing her cheek. But thanks for wanting the best for me. It means a lot. You're welcome. She followed Griffin to the door, sitting on the front porch as he loaded up the trunk with supplies. He packed a little of everything since Mrs. Seabrook had paid the price for full massage services, and Kyrie was a former athlete. Once he had loaded up, he glanced at the time. It was barely 2 o'clock, and Kyrie lived 3 houses down the street. He rubbed his forehead and sighed. All right, Mama, I'll see you in a bit. He waved and ducked into his vehicle, creeping down the street to Kyrie's house. The house looked exactly the same. Well, it looked older and less menacing. He remembered walking past Kyrie's house every day on his way to school. He remembered dreading it, too. There wasn't a day where Kyrie's 3 friends weren't waiting outside, laughing and taunting every kid that crossed their paths. When Griffin walked with Madison, he had a cover. River had always had a thing for Madison. However, when Griffin walked alone, he received double the tormenting. The boys had destroyed his homework, taken his lunch and lunch money, and teased him mercilessly. They made 4 years of high school a living hell. Griffin pulled into the driveway at 2:10 and turned off the engine. When no one rushed out of the front door, he groaned and climbed out, smoothing his hand down his slacks. He adjusted his button-down shirt and his square black-rimmed glasses on his nose as he squeezed his eyes shut. You can do this, he whispered his own private pep talk as he strolled up to Kyrie's front door, pressing the doorbell. The house erupted in barking and Kyrie's warm laughter. 1 second, the man called, and Griffin rocked back on his heels. He hooked his thumbs in his belt loops and rested his weight on one leg as the barking slowed, and Kyrie yanked open the door. Sorry. I've been meaning to put a do not ring doorbell sign up on. Kyrie paused when his dark eyes landed on Griffin, and Griffin's heart galloped. Griffin had prepared himself for a washed-up, balding former high school football star with a beer belly and smoker's teeth, but Kyrie was nothing of the sort. 10 years had passed, but he hadn't aged more than 5. He went from an attractive high school student to a virile adult man, complete with hard-earned muscles and chiseled features. Griffin wet his lips. Hi. Kyrie ducked his head, clearing his throat. Hello. I thought the appointment was at 3. Thick eyebrows quirked together, and he wiped his sweaty face with the stretched hem of a faded shirt, showing off rippling abdominals and a sharp line of hair traveling down the center of his body. Griffin's eyelashes fluttered, and he looked away until Kyrie dropped his shirt again. Ah. Why yeah. It is. I'm early. I figured I could start setting up. Oh yeah, sure. I have some cleaning to finish, then I was going to jump in the shower real quick, and then I'm all yours. Griffin bit the inside of his cheek. Oh okay. He wandered back over to his vehicle, grabbing his bag of supplies and the fold-up table, and carrying them into Kyrie's house. He had only been in the man's house once before, for Kyrie's 13-year-old birthday party. Kyrie's family had invited the entire class, and Griffin and Madison had spent most of the day inside hiding from the other children, who had enjoyed many rousing games of dodgeball in the Jenkins backyard. He rounded the corner into the kitchen and peeked into the living room. Kyrie wiped down the counter surfaces as a little dog toddled cautiously behind him. He flopped the towel across his shoulder and scooped the puppy into his arms. Still gotta give you a name, little lady, he cooed. The puppy sniffed his pouty lips, licking his nose. Griffin's expression softened as he watched the burly man with the tiny little creature. It was cute to watch. Griffin hated to break the sweet moment. Where should I set up my table? My bedroom would be fine. Or anywhere really, wherever you think is best. This is your profession, after all. Griffin adjusted his glasses on his nose. Right. Well, people like different locations. Some people prefer their living room or their guest bedroom. You decide. Okay, well. Griffin looked around the living room. Judging by this right here, the bedroom will probably be more relaxing for you. All right. Bedroom it is. Kyrie nodded. He shifted the wiggling creature in his arms, tightening his grip, as the little puppy flung his head back and nibbled Kyrie's thick fingers. She's really cute. Griffin jutted his chin towards the puppy. Oh yeah. Someone dropped her off this morning. They said they found her, but I don't believe it. She looks like a full-bred Maltese, and they're not easy to come by. Maltese? Yeah, the breed. It's a little white fluffy dog, basically. She looks like one. Hell, she even acts like one, but she's so damn small, I'm a little worried about her. What are you going to do with her? Griffin eased into the living room. Train her and rehome her. She'll get a home quickly because she's cute as anything, and she's got a good personality. Oh. Griffin hugged his arms around his body as he continued watching Kyrie with the puppy. His heart turned over in his chest when Kyrie kissed the little dog's black nose and set it back on the ground. I can lead you back to the bedroom. Sure. Griffin eyed the little puppy. As Kyrie moved from the room, the dog hopped after him. After a few hops, the little thing gave up and barked instead. Kyrie ignored it, and Griffin did too as he dashed down the hallway to a sleek, mostly empty bedroom. The place has been mine for years, but I can't bring myself to move from this room to the master. Something about sleeping in my parents' room kind of freaks me out. What do you use your parents' room for then? Right now it's an office. Kyrie paused, tugging his lips into a smirk. Okay, it's going to be an office. For the moment, it's where I store all of my paperwork. You know, vet files and adoption papers for the dogs. Ah. Yeah, I get it. I moved home, and even though my mother offered me the master bedroom, I couldn't take it. It's something about knowing your parents slept together in the same room you're now sleeping in. Exactly. It's weird. So anyway, I sleep in my childhood room, but I updated it a bit. Clearly. You don't have race car sheets and robot posters on your walls anymore. Sadly not. They're a bit childish. Kyrie chuckled. Just a bit. I'm going to go grab my stuff. Do you need any help? No. I got it. Plus, your baby is crying for you. You should see about her. Kyrie exhaled in a warm chuckle, and it lit up his face. Yeah, I guess I should. He backed out of the bedroom, leaving Griffin alone as he shuffled back to the living room. Griffin sighed. He slipped into the hallway and grabbed his supplies, popping up the massage table and using one of Kyrie's empty counters for the oils and music. He spread a sheet over the table and folded extra towels. Griffin checked his watch again after he had everything set up. Barely after 2:30. He leaned against the counter, looking at the ceiling as he waited. The extra time only upped Griffin's nervousness, and by the time Kyrie poked his head back into the bedroom, Griffin was shivering with his own anxiety. It sailed out of him, though, when he saw Kyrie's equally nervous face. Hey. Ready? Let me ask you a few questions first, and then we can start the massage. Griffin dug around his bag for a medical form and a pencil. I need to ask you about your medical history. It's standard procedure. Yeah, no problem. Okay, so do you have any medical conditions? No. Do you have any specific areas of concern? Like what? Just any questions for me. No, not really. I trust you. Griffin smiled. Good. So, can I ask you about your levels of pain or discomfort on good and bad days? Do you experience any chronic pain? Well, my shoulder on bad days. Rotator cuff tear back in high school. I remember. It's still giving you problems? Griffin scribbled notes. Sometimes. I do a lot of manual work around here. The dogs are strong. Usually it's good though. Griffin nodded. What helps reduce the pain? Usually it doesn't hurt for more than a day, but if I find it hurting for a few days, I found this yoga sequence and it helps. No pain medication? No. I'm not really a fan of chemicals in my body like that. Noted. Griffin flicked his eyes up to Kyrie. I just need an emergency contact, and we're ready to get started. He passed the paper across the counter and handed Kyrie the pen. After Kyrie added the information, he set the pen down. Let me rinse off first. I probably smell like sweat and dog poop. Sure. Kyrie nodded and returned a few minutes later with a towel wrapped around his hips and beads of water evaporating over his muscled shoulders. Griffin's eyes roamed over Kyrie's body, lingering on darkened scars before traveling the patterns of his tattoos. Yeah. Should I be, naked for this? Griffin's mouth went dry and he cleared his throat. If you want to be. This is your massage. I'm here to help you relax. His voice sounded foreign to him, because his mind had a different answer. His brain had drummed up several ways Griffin could help Kyrie relax, but none of them included a massage table, soothing music, and warm oils. Kyrie rubbed over his coily hair. Cool, okay? His eyes searched the room before he disrobed and draped the damp towel across his bed. You're nervous? Griffin lifted his eyebrows, fixing his gaze on Kyrie's face as the taller man stood there. He patted the table. Go ahead and lie down on your stomach and get comfortable. Kyrie obeyed, slipping between the two sheets. His feet hung off the end and Griffin's lips tugged into a smile, again. Yeah. A bit. This whole process is a little awkward. Oh? It's your first time? Basically, yeah. Well, there's nothing to be nervous about. Griffin started at Kyrie's head and shoulders, squeezing his tight muscles and sliding his palms over his rough skin. Griffin enjoyed his job. He enjoyed the platonic intimacy of it. He enjoyed exploring a stranger's body, loosening tight muscles, and feeling the patient relax under his touch. He never understood how some therapists talked during their session. With the music playing and his focus on his patient's subtle body language, he couldn't hold a conversation, too. Kyrie was a treat. His muscles slackened easily under Griffin's hands, and Kyrie exhaled a few soft moans. He rolled over after 30 minutes, and Griffin continued over his body, massaging his muscular thighs and lean calves. He bunched the blanket over Kyrie's crotch as his body responded to the touch. As the massage concluded, Kyrie groaned. Damn. He covered his face with his arm. Thanks. My pleasure. Take your time before getting up. I'll get you something to drink while you get dressed. Griffin patted Kyrie's shoulder and slipped out of the room, closing the door behind him. Chapter 4. Griffin. He wandered through the house, buying himself some time and trying not to think about Kyrie naked, hard, and stretched out on his table. He entered the kitchen and peeked in the cabinets until he retrieved a glass and filled it with chilled tap water. He knocked on the bedroom door when he returned. Come in, Kyrie rumbled, and Griffin pushed the door open as Kyrie draped a clean shirt over his body, hiding his beautiful mahogany skin. Griffin exhaled, biting the inside of his bottom lip. I got you water. Griffin offered it to the former football star. How do you feel? Good, relaxed? Perfect. You should probably take it easy for the rest of the day. I'll try. Kyrie sipped the water as Griffin started packing up. He stripped the sheets off the massage table and folded them, stacking them next to fluffy white towels. So, what do you have going on after this? I'm done for the day. I don't normally do appointments on Wednesdays. Griffin folded the table and leaned it against the wall. Well then, maybe you could hang around for dinner and we could catch up. It's been damn near 10 years. Griffin sealed his lips together with a sigh. He tucked his supplies back in his bag before he looked at Kyrie. Catching up would imply we were friends at some point. Maybe you remember high school differently than I do, but I don't remember us being friends. We weren't, but I wish we had been. Why? I'm sure being friends with the founder of the first ever chess club would have definitely helped your image. Griffin rolled his eyes, animosity seeping into his voice as he closed his bag, yanking roughly on the zipper. Yeah, I wish I hadn't cared about image. Well, Griffin spun on his heels facing Kyrie, you did. So, I'm sorry. About? Kyrie squinted. His moody dark brown eyes met Griffin's. I'm sorry for what my friends did to you when we were in high school. It's too little too late, Kyrie. You know, I remember when you tore your shoulder. The day after, when you couldn't carry your books, River slammed me into the lockers and bullied me to do it for you. I remember too. Kyrie gulped his water. And I'm sorry. Griffin worked his jaws, glaring at the other man before looking away. Just because you apologize, doesn't mean I have to forgive you. I know, but I wanted you to know I'm sorry. Griffin nodded, hugging his body with his arms. Well, now I know. Let me help you with your stuff. Before Griffin protested, Kyrie grabbed the folded-up massage table, hoisting it over his meaty shoulder, and carried it outside. Griffin's eyes trailed down his body, stealing a glimpse of his ass. While he had been professional during the massage, Kyrie still excited him. The man was masculine and sexy with a triangle-shaped body. His broad shoulders filled the top of his shirt. The shirt loosened around his tight waistline, bunching at the start of his ass. Griffin trailed behind Kyrie, unlocking his vehicle from the front door. Kyrie lifted the back and loaded the massage table, lying it flat on the floor of the hatchback, and returned to his porch. Thanks, Griffin murmured. You look good. For 10 years. Better. Do I? Kyrie's lips stretched into a smile, revealing pearly white teeth. Yeah. Thanks. His smile grew, piercing his cheeks with dimples. Why are you smiling? Because you said I look better than I did in high school. Okay, and? This means I looked good in high school. Well, yeah. You were the football, baseball, basketball, whatever ball star. Women flopped all over you. You know you looked good. I mean, yeah, but it sounds nice coming from you. I like hearing you say I'm attractive. Why does some nerd's opinion matter to you? It matters because, Kyrie paused, stepping closer to Griffin, I've always liked you. Then he pressed his lips into Griffin's. The kiss stunned him, and he drowned in the spicy taste of Kyrie's lips. He was frozen as Kyrie explored his mouth. Mixed emotions swirled through him. Part of him pushed against the other man, but a stronger part yanked him closer. His fists balled in Kyrie's shirt, and he meshed himself against him until the kiss broke, leaving them both gasping for air. Griffin licked his lips. Oh, okay, he breathed, still clinging to Kyrie's shirt. His heart pounded when he looked at the man again. All his buried feelings bubbled to the surface. The excitement, lust, infatuation, and fear of wanting someone outside of his social status. The lines had changed now, but it didn't make these feelings any less intoxicating. You want to go back inside? Kyrie's husky voice caressed Griffin's ears. Griffin's tongue traced the backs of his teeth as he debated his reply. Kyrie was hungry for him. He felt it through the thin fabric of his shorts. He was hungry for Kyrie, too. Griffin had left for 10 years. He'd seen the world and had plenty of unsatisfying boyfriends. They were nerds like him, and they sat around discussing improvements in the medical field and having subpar sex. He had always craved more, and when Kyrie's lips touched his, he knew what he had been craving. Yes, if you promise to fuck me. Griffin's cheeks warmed as the words left his mouth, and his lips parted with shallow, desperate breaths. Kyrie blinked, eyes going wide. He cleared his throat and glanced around before looking back down at Griffin. His eyes lidded and his nostrils flared. His competitive nature shone in his eyes. Say it again, he demanded. Griffin's cheeks burned. Fuck me, Kyrie. Kyrie pushed Griffin back into the house, kicking the door closed. He ripped at Griffin's clothes, snapping the buttons of his shirt, raising rough welts on Griffin's arms as he yanked it off. Griffin groaned, adoring Kyrie's rough treatment. Kyrie snapped the button to Griffin's slacks next, yanking them down his thighs. Griffin stumbled out of them, hooking his arms around Kyrie's shoulders. Ah. I got you. Kyrie lifted him, supporting his weight with one strong arm at the small of his back as he traveled past the kitchen and into the living room. Oh, okay. Griffin's stomach danced when Kyrie pushed him into the couch and peeled his underwear down. His cock slapped his soft belly, and Kyrie rumbled. Gorgeous, he whispered, stroking Griffin's thighs before bending him in half. Kyrie sank to his knees, spitting on Griffin's entrance before plunging in with his tongue. Griffin gasped, eyes rolling back in his skull, and his thighs quaked. Kyrie's enthusiasm turned him on as much as how good his tongue felt against sensitive flesh. Kyrie's growls grew louder, and he gripped Griffin rougher until his control snapped and he yanked himself away, replacing his tongue with his thick cock. Griffin glimpsed it before he shoved it into his ass. Phewick. You're so big. The tips of Griffin's ears burned at his confession. Kyrie was easily the biggest Griffin ever had, and Griffin loved it. The fullness and the warmth drove him wild. His toes curled as Kyrie pushed in until his hips dug against the backs of Griffin's thighs. Oh God. Griffin turned his head to the side, squeezing his face between his folded legs and his blazing shoulder as Kyrie pounded him into the couch, hitting the perfect spot each time. Yeah? Kyrie grunted, wrapping his arm around Griffin's slender legs and pressing them together, trapping Griffin's pulsing cock between his thighs. Griffin whined. Damn, Griffin panted, rubbing his face against his leg and digging his fingers into the sides of his thighs. Despite not having access to his cock, his orgasm fluttered in his belly. His cock flexed, hardening and relaxing in the trap of his thighs. Close. I'm close. Oh babe, we barely started. Kyrie grinned and pulled out of him, flipping him over. Griffin grabbed the back of the couch and twisted his torso, glancing over his shoulder at the other man. As Kyrie shoved his cock inside him, Griffin's back bowed and his ass cheeks clenched. Fuck, Griffin cursed again, hiding his face under his arm as Kyrie resumed his harsh thrusts. His cock swung between his thighs, painting them with sticky pre-cum. Kyrie bent over him, biting his shoulder and caging him with his strong arms. His tongue laved over the wings of Griffin's shoulder blades, and he planted a kiss on the back of Griffin's neck. A harsh shiver rushed down his spine, and he squeezed his eyes shut. Saint's still close. Kyrie groaned, slowing inside him and rocking his hips side to side. He eased off of Griffin and slid one hand down Griffin's sweaty chest. His work-roughened fingers strummed over his navel and combed the length of his cock. You're so sexy. Kyrie's thumb circled the head of Griffin's cock, teasing the slit. Griffin whined. Close, he repeated, sinking down on his elbows and resting his forehead on the back of the couch. Griffin trembled. Kyrie wrapped his fingers around him, stroking his length idly as he continued rocking his hips back and forth. I know. His exploratory hand cupped Griffin's balls, massaging them and giving his cock a break. Mean. Griffin's hips danced, and he arched his back, moving himself along Kyrie's cock. Oh, you're doing it now. Kyrie leaned back and slapped the top of Griffin's ass. Another wave of pleasure rushed through him, momentarily robbing him of words. Griffin's eyes rolled. Yeah. I am, he managed as the warmth from Kyrie's slap spread through him. I'm going to come on your couch. Kyrie chuckled. Okay. Griffin continued spearing himself with Kyrie's cock, slamming himself back each time. At first Kyrie stayed still, but as Griffin continued, he responded, rolling his hips against Griffin, meeting him each time. The sound of skin on skin was the rhythmic bass to Griffin's alto moans and Kyrie's tenor grunts. Damn, Kyrie rumbled, yeah, I'm close. At his confession, he took the reins back, bending over Griffin again and pounding into him. Kyrie's desperation made his heart swell in his chest. Kyrie wanted him. The former football star hadn't been lying about it. Griffin's mind conjured up old childhood fantasies. He pictured Kyrie in his old uniform, helmet clutched in his fingers with sweat coating his body. He remembered his boyish smile and warm laughter, and he imagined them in the locker room, hidden behind boxes and equipment, doing the same thing they were doing now. He reached between his thighs for his cock, jerking it as Kyrie struggled behind him. Coming, Griffin announced, freezing under Kyrie with a heaving chest. True to his word, ropes of pearly cum painted Kyrie's couch. Yeah? Kyrie's light question cut through the fog of his orgasm, and Griffin nodded. Oh yeah. Me too. Kyrie bit Griffin's shoulder a second time, burying his moans in his skin. His body rolled with his orgasm, and his cock pulsed inside Griffin's ass. Oh God, Griffin moaned. Oh my God, you feel so good. Griffin melted into the couch as Kyrie retreated, clasping his quaking thighs together and rolling onto his back. Kyrie eyed the cum stain on his fabric couch before looking at Griffin with a lopsided grin. Satisfied? Griffin scanned the room for his clothes. Yeah, but we probably shouldn't do this again. Why not? Because? Griffin pinched the bridge of his nose. Honestly, because I'm not sure I want to date someone who was a bully in high school. I don't want to date someone who bullied me in high school. I didn't. You were a silent participant. Griffin stretched his legs as Kyrie's features fell. It hurt his feelings, but Griffin didn't care. In fact, he liked it. Can you pass me my clothes? Sighing and tucking his cock away, Kyrie snatched Griffin's shirt and slacks from the ground, turning them right side out and handing them to him. Underwear too. Oh, I was keeping those. Why? Are you like those Japanese guys who buy underwear out of a machine? You definitely just ruined it. Kyrie laughed, rubbing the back of his head. They smell like you is all, and I can't keep your shirt or else the whole neighborhood will know we fucked. This is a small town. The whole neighborhood probably already knows we fucked. Probably. Kyrie snatched the underwear from the floor too. You're so small. I couldn't get one of my legs in these things. So you meant you're too damn big. Kyrie shrugged. Griffin dressed, slipped on his shoes, and pushed himself off of the couch, gripping the armrest as he gathered his balance. High school was a million years ago. I'm a different person now. So am I. In high school, I would have loved your attention. Griffin adjusted his shirt, tucking it into his pants. Now not so much. Kyrie grit his teeth, setting his jaw and rolling his head over his shoulders. His emotions rippled off him. Griffin tasted his anger and sadness in the air, and it filled his empty stomach. Fine? Yeah. You don't just get to be a jackass for 4 years, then tell me you care about me 10 years later and think all is forgiven. This isn't a movie. Griffin. I'll see you around. Griffin exited the living room, grabbing his supply bag from the hallway, and strolled out of Kyrie's house. The door swung closed behind him as he climbed into his mother's old hatchback and drove away. Chapter 5. Kyrie. Tell me again how it went. River ordered Kyrie another beer and fixed his gaze on the other man. He gave me a massage, we fucked, and he basically said there was no chance in hell he was going to date me. Kyrie popped the cap open and tipped it to his lips, gulping it down. How was the fuck though? Why is it important? Kyrie squinted at River. Look, we're here to watch the game, not talk about my love life. If we're being real here, it's not a love life. River shrugged and clapped Kyrie's shoulder. It'll be all right, man. He'll come around. You just have to buy him flowers or something. I don't think he wants flowers. Aight, then take him to the nice restaurant, you know, the one with the real small portions. I don't think he wants to be pacified with money. Okay, well then I don't much know what to tell you. Kyrie tipped his beer to his lips again, flicking his eyes from his best friend to the television. It was Saturday night, and he and River had a long-standing date at the bar. They watched the game there, and River got some time away from the wife and kids at the same time. He and River weren't still friends because they had things in common though. They were still friends because the town was small and they were both still there. They'd grown apart because River was still a bully, and Kyrie didn't put up with it. River was a local police officer, and he enjoyed shutting down the same types of drinking parties he hosted 10 years ago. How's Madison and the babies? She's doing all right. She's been talking about wanting some new couch or something. She says the old one isn't comfortable anymore. I don't know. She's always cooking up ways to spend my money. Technically it's hers too, isn't it? You guys are married, and she sacrifices to stay home with your kids. Yeah, sure, technically it's hers too, but she's not the one working all night. No, but she's the one who birthed several of your kids, and spends all day teaching them how to be good humans. So you're saying I should let her buy the couch? Kyrie shrugged. I don't know, man. Your wife, your money. I think you should be a little more considerate, though. River nursed his beer, glancing up at the television. Still can't believe you threw away going pro to stay in this little town saving puppies and kittens. You could have been so far away from this little postage stamp of a place, making $500,000 a year. Maybe, if I didn't get injured and tossed to the curb. Why'd you turn it down again? Didn't you have a good handful of offers on the table for college? I did, and I just wasn't interested. Football was fun, but it wasn't something I was really passionate about. Yeah, but it makes a lot of money, and would have gotten you out of here. I like being here. Yeah, I bet you do since your nerd boyfriend is back in town. Stop. We already talked about this. See, there's your problem, man. You want this dude? Then, you need to stop sitting around and waiting for him to come over to you and change his mind. All-star player for damn near half of your junior and all your senior season, and you can't buck up to some little bookworm. Stop bringing up football, Kyrie groaned, rolling his eyes. Dating is nothing but a series of plays, and right now you're not calling the right ones. QB1, you know how to call plays. Assess the field, assess the other team, and make a call. I literally said stop making football references. Well, I thought it was useful. Clearly. Kyrie sucked in his breath, polishing off his drink before he stood up. I'll be right back. I need some air. Sure thing. River waved his half-empty beer bottle as Kyrie wandered towards the door. He stepped outside, taking a deep breath of the evening air and closing his eyes. Griffin's face appeared behind his eyelids. Flushed cheeks, a soft smile, and blue eyes sparkling with mischief. When he opened his eyes again, he glanced into the parking lot, eyeing his old truck for a minute before his eyes landed on another familiar vehicle, and his heart jumped into his throat. Griffin's hatchback was here. He quirked his dark eyebrows, glancing inside the establishment before looking back into the parking lot. His pulse thundered in his veins. The passenger door to the hatchback opened, and Griffin's mother eased out of the vehicle. Griffin rushed around the hatchback, offering her his hand. His full lips moved, and his perfect eyebrows crunched together in frustration as they approached the bar. Mama, I really don't see why you had to come to the bar to watch the game. You don't even like football. You don't understand any of it, Griffin pouted. His wavy brown hair swayed as he walked, billowing around the column of his neck and the collar of his shirt. It's tradition. Ever since you were in school, we've always been coming to this bar on game day. No, we haven't. We didn't even go last week. Well, we're starting new traditions. But the point still stands. You don't even understand football. Hell, neither do I, so I'm still not quite sure why we're. Griffin's frustrated words stopped when his eyes landed on Kyrie. His eyes widened as his lips pursed together in a thin line, and he lifted his chin. Oh, hello there, Kyrie. I didn't expect to see you here. Griffin's mother smiled. Are you here to watch the game? Kyrie glanced between Griffin and his mother before nodding. Yes, Mrs. Rowe. I watch the game here every week with my buddies. Of course you do, Griffin muttered, clenching his jaws. Well, why don't you lead us on in and catch us up on the score? Kyrie's lips tugged into a smirk. I would, Mrs. Rowe, but I came here with River and he'll be expecting me back over there. Oh, River's here too. No, Griffin snapped. Nope. If you want to sit here and learn football, Mama, it's fine, but I'm not. I know what you're trying to do, and it's not going to work. What am I trying to do? Enjoy watching young men play sports? Don't even. You can stay here with your small-town friends. I'm going home. I'm sure Mrs. Trout or whoever will give you a ride home. Griffin glared at Kyrie again before spinning on his heels and stalking back to the hatchback. Kyrie looked between them, and River's stupid but useful advice floated through his mind. Read the field, call a play. Kyrie chewed his bottom lip before nodding to Mrs. Rowe. Excuse me, he murmured and moved past her, jogging after Griffin. Hey Griffin, hang on. Griffin paused with his fingers around the door handle. What? Kyrie sucked in his breath, puffing out his chest. You still do the gaming thing on Thursday nights? Griffin blinked. I know. I mean, it still goes on, but I don't participate. Why not? The crowd's different. Most of my friends graduated and left. Well, I'll go with you. Griffin arched a single eyebrow. You don't like gaming. I've never tried it, so I don't know if I like it or not, but you like it, and I like you. Is this a pickup line I've never heard of before? No, it's not. It's a trade-off. You come inside and sit through football talk, and I'll go to the library and sit through gaming talk. Griffin's skepticism grew, but he released the door handle and glimpsed past Kyrie to his mother. I think it would make her happy. The football talk or the gaming talk? Seeing us together. She wants me to be happy here. Well, I certainly don't want you to spend time with me only because your mother's pushing for it. I trust my mother's opinion, Griffin paused. Sometimes. He tilted his head, squinting at Kyrie and adjusting his glasses on his nose. I had fun the other day. I know you did. Griffin puckered his lips. Say thank you. Kyrie grinned. I know you did. Still arrogant, I see. Only when I have a reason to be, and I definitely have reason to be. I guess. I could have gone again, you know. I stopped for you. Griffin's cheeks burned and he breezed past Kyrie. Are we doing this football thing or not? Griffin glanced over his shoulder. Kyrie's grin spread into a toothy smile. Yeah, we're doing this football thing. He moved after Griffin. So, you really don't know anything about football? No, not really. You went to all the games. Griffin shrugged. I covered the games for the newspaper. You went to the away games too. Well, I wanted to see the progression of the team. So you didn't go to see me, though. Okay, I had a crush, but I wasn't obsessive. Madison liked going because of River. Ah. Kyrie opened the door for Griffin, and they wandered over to the booth already occupied by Griffin's mother. I want you to know, also, that this isn't a date. All right. Kyrie sat down beside Mrs. Rowe, and Griffin sat across from them. When the server sauntered over to them, Griffin ordered a beer for himself, sweet white wine for his mother, and looked at Kyrie. Kyrie shook his head. I'm good. Okay. Griffin nodded, handing over his credit card. He leaned back in his seat, placing his hands in his lap and resting his weight on one hip. Kyrie stared. He remembered Griffin as a little awkward in high school, but always charming. Now he had a subtle sensuality, an effortless sexiness from the confidence he'd developed over the years. Kyrie loved it. Tell me about football, Griffin prompted. Why, yeah. Right. Amused, Mrs. Rowe leaned back in her seat as well, letting the conversation begin without her. Kyrie explained the basics to Griffin, grabbing a napkin and requesting a pen. He doodled plays and explained them in detail, drawing out the progression of them and the possible outcomes too. So it's like chess. Griffin tilted his head. I mean, maybe. There are some set plays in chess where, if the opposition doesn't know what they're doing, you can win in less than 5 moves. There are several, actually. Most people use one as an opener. I didn't know about them until I went to my first chess tournament. I lost on the first round. Griffin poked his bottom lip out. Kyrie smirked. How old were you? 8. How old was the other kid? She was like 6. It was ridiculous. I was still playing with rocks and bricks and things, and apparently she was off memorizing chess plays. I see you're still angry about it. Kyrie chuckled. A little. I hate losing. Me too. So when you're the quarterback, you have to remember basically all the plays because you're the one who calls them. It's like you're playing chess, except your team members are your pieces. Griffin studied the plays Kyrie had drawn out. How many plays did you have to memorize? A lot. I can't remember how many, but they're still back there. It's why I enjoy watching football. It's like, I guess if you knew all the chess plays, you would enjoy watching competitive chess. I do enjoy watching competitive chess. Griffin took the first sip of his beer, sighing at the taste. Well, there you go. Now, I'm going to quiz you. Kyrie turned to the hanging television behind the bar counter. I want you to name the players and their numbers. Remember what I told you about how the numbers work. They're not arbitrary. What if a number doesn't match the position they're playing? Griffin pointed to a bulky player on the screen. See? Him. Oh, it means he plays more than one position. Ah. Interesting. Griffin continued his questions until the end of the game, and Kyrie even got a smile out of him. The man's face lit up when he saw one of the plays they had discussed happen on screen, and he jumped out of the booth, catching Kyrie in a hug when the local team scored. His cheeks reddened when he realized what he'd done, and he jerked away from Kyrie. Sorry. No, it's all right. It's not. I'm crossing the line. Griffin smiled apologetically and moved back across the booth. Kyrie frowned. You know, Griffin's mother interjected, I think I do see Mrs. Trout over there. Who? The former football star blinked. No one. Griffin rolled his eyes. She's hinting at giving us some alone time. Oh? Well, she can invite Mrs. Trout over here, because I was going to ask if you wanted to take a walk or something. It's a nice night out, so I figured, Kyrie shrugged. This is the kind of night where I'd walk all the dogs one-on-one. You walk them individually. Yeah, it makes them feel special. A smile snaked onto Griffin's lips, and he nodded. I get it. That's sweet. Yeah, I guess so. It's not much fun when half the dog's never been on a leash before, and the other half has terrible leash manners. Is it something you can fix? Sure. With time, almost anything can be mitigated. Walk with me. Griffin looked at his mother. If I'm not back when you're ready to go, do you think someone will give you a ride home? River's here. I could ask him if he'd be all right with giving you a ride. Kyrie followed Griffin's gaze to the other woman. Oh Lord. I can find my own ride home. You two act like I'm getting old or something. Griffin winced, rolling his eyes before looking at Kyrie. Well, she says she can find her own ride, so I guess I'm yours. I guess you are, Kyrie said with a smile. Chapter 6. Kyrie. Kyrie extended a hand to Griffin as he stood up. Griffin hesitated before taking Kyrie's hand, threading his fingers through Kyrie's and squeezing gently. With a soft smile playing on his lips, Kyrie strolled out of the establishment and led Griffin down the sidewalk. Tell me how you got into animal training, instead of being a professional football player. I heard you had tons of offers from colleges. Ah. I did, but you know the thing about going on a sports scholarship is you're a number on a field to them. Chances of you starting in the first few years are unlikely because they already have their main players. Once you get out there, if you get injured, you got nothing. Yeah, but it would have been your ticket out of here. I don't mind here. I've never been in a hurry to leave. I see. So you always knew you wanted a dog rescue? Not quite. I started out working at the zoo, driving into the city every day. I liked it, so I went to school to be a veterinary technician, basically like a dog nurse. Oh, okay. And then what? And then, well, started taking home animals. Someone would come in and want to abandon their dog because it has some weird behavior issue. The vet's office didn't know what to do, so I ended up taking it home with me. It eventually morphed into a thing where I'd take them home, work with them a while, and then the office would let me put up flyers to get the dog adopted out again. Cool? I've taken some dog training courses, but really they're mostly for fun. There's some good techniques in them all, but they're always, just techniques. Like the clicker thing and the controlled trials thing. I don't know about any of this. Griffin smiled gently. Sorry. Sorry. I'm talking too much. No, it's refreshing to hear about something you care about other than sports. It's obvious you really care for the dogs, and they're lucky to have you. Yeah, I guess. Kyrie stroked the back of Griffin's hand. They are, Griffin confirmed, turning his eyes up to Kyrie's with another smile. I may have misjudged you. You're not completely the jackass I remember from high school. Just a little bit the jackass? Well, you're still arrogant, which I'm not incredibly into. What you call arrogance, I call self-confidence. It's arrogance. Griffin chuckled. What about your parents? Ah. They moved back up north to Detroit after I was done with school. Something about the school systems being better here, but they always missed the city. And they left you the house? Pretty much. They bought something new when they moved. Oh, true. I guess when you're a doctor and a lawyer, it's pretty easy to get employed and stock up some money for another house. Yeah, pretty much. I've been working as a dog rescue and rehabilitator for the last 5 years. What's the worst dog you've dealt with? Kyrie squinted one eye. Well, I don't think of them as bad and good really, because if a dog has a lot of behavior issues, it's usually the previous owner's fault. 2 have stuck with me though. Griffin nodded. Which? Well, this little white pit bull mix. When the vet got him, I was too full to take on another dog, and it was almost a year before I could get him at my house. This meant he lived in a tiny sterilized kennel for a year, on top of the fact that he had already suffered neglect and abuse from wherever he came from. Anyway, I got him, and he used to do this thing where he'd attack the leash if he got scared or anxious or really anything. Oh, poor guy. Yeah. Well, I had to muzzle him to get any work done with him because he was so unpredictable. He got this look in his eyes, but after a few months of walking and walking and walking and fucking walking, we worked our shit out. I worked with him on barriers and basic obedience, and things were going well. I even got him in a play group with another dog. His only issue with other dogs was his fear aggression, which is something I definitely consider workable. If you fixed him, why does he stick with you? I got him on a transport to the north. A rescue in Seattle took him, but they ended up having to euthanize him because he had a brain tumor. Apparently after a few months, his crazy behavior came back, and it was worse than before. I guess it's just something no one ever thought to look for. Oh. I'm sorry. Griffin untangled his hand from Kyrie's and rubbed the man's back. You tried your best though, right? Yeah. I just wish I could have seen him before they euthanized him or something. I don't know. What about the other dog? You said 2 stuck with you. Oh yeah. The other one. Kyrie chewed his bottom lip. Remember I said the first guy got in a play group? Well, he was in a play group with this dog who came to me unexpectedly. He was a shepherd mix with a high prey drive, but the people I got him from said he was friendly with small animals and cats and whatnot. At the time I had some smaller dogs, and he was great with them, so I didn't worry about it. Griffin nodded. Oh. Well, I ended up with some cats. It just happened to be kitten season, and the vet got a box of kittens at her front door. Some of the other techs took kittens, but I ended up with 3. Kyrie chewed his bottom lip again, looking down at the dark pavement. Yeah. Oh my God. Griffin stared at Kyrie. Oh my God. Oh my God. He looped his arms around the other man, squeezing him close. I'm so sorry. He was a good dog otherwise, but I have one rule, and he broke it. There's just too many dogs on the planet who need homes to keep a dog with a high prey drive. It's irresponsible. The people who bred him were irresponsible. Griffin squeezed Kyrie, clinging to him and mumbling soft apologies until his voice broke with sobs. Shit. It's okay. Hey, it's okay. Kyrie lifted his hand, petting Griffin's head. Don't cry. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about you having to deal with it by yourself, and it makes me so sad. I'm okay. I know you are, Griffin wiped his face, but I still feel terrible you had to witness it. No wonder you were all in knots. I didn't think rehabilitating dogs could be so stressful. It has its moments, but it's still very rewarding. I have great memories with both dogs too, videos of them playing together and all sorts of stuff. They were happy. You really are different from high school. Griffin stared at Kyrie, searching his eyes before going up on his toes and brushing his lips across the other man's. Kyrie sucked in his breath, and his mind reeled after Griffin's feather-light kiss. Their lips barely touched, but electricity spiraled through him. You want to go back to my place for a round two? Kyrie breathed. Griffin laughed. Wow. Tempting, so tempting. I want to go back to your place, but not for a round two. I like this intellectual side of you, and I want to get to know it more. He slid his hands down Kyrie's chest, strumming his fingers on his pectoral muscles. Fair enough. But a round two did cross my mind. Maybe we can sneak one in. Kyrie chuckled. Yeah, I mean if we get around to it or whatever. Exactly. I don't want to end the conversation just for some sexual intercourse. We can do it any time. Griffin rolled his eyes. All right. It's your turn. What have you been up to since you hightailed it out of here? Kyrie resumed walking with Griffin's hand clasped in his. Well, I studied 4 years at university getting a degree in biology. I applied for medical school and got in, but it ended up not being for me. The crippling debt turned me off, and then I realized doctors only fix problems, they don't specialize in preventative care. What do you mean? I mean like, if you go to the doctor, they're going to give you antibiotics, whatever you need to fix the problem, but they're not going to tell you how to fix the problem with diet and lifestyle choices. If they told you how to avoid seeing them, then they wouldn't make any money. I guess this is true. I mean, no offense to your parents. I'm sure they're both great at what they do, but I wanted to work with preventative care, so I looked it up and found that becoming a professional massage therapist is a step in the right direction for me. I've been considering adding nutrition, because the way people eat here is so screwed up. You're passionate about people like I am animals. Yeah. Griffin nodded. I love my job. I love giving massages, and I love having an in-home practice. I heard you went overseas too. Oh yeah. I studied abroad in several different countries. Their classic medicine is further advanced than the crap we call medicine here. It's all a holistic approach, while we're happy to prescribe pills for anything and everything. What was your favorite place? I think I like Japan the best. When you get out of the major cities, life is slow. I worked on a farm for a few months in exchange for a place to stay. Then, I worked for a kimono maker. The process is slow and beautiful, honestly. They don't make them by machine. Well, I'm sure some places do, but this place kept the old-fashioned methods of hand-dyeing motifs and everything. The dyes ruin your hands, but it was an amazing experience. Kyrie nodded. Sounds rewarding in a weird way. Rewarding is a good word. I never thought manual labor would be fun, until the farm and the kimono maker. After working those two places, there's something natural and cathartic about doing physical work. Yeah, there is. It makes the idea of sitting in a desk all day stressful. Like, I think if I had never worked on the farm, I would have been content with the idea of sitting behind a computer all day, but now I can't do it. Really? Oh no. God no. I mean, I love games, but I like board games more than computer games. And honestly, I don't know if I like the really complicated ones anymore. It's been a long time. Well, then I guess we'll find out next week then, won't we? I'll be at the Thursday game night. Will you? Kyrie smiled. You don't like gaming. I've never tried it. Griffin eyed Kyrie before shaking his head with a chuckle. Okay, fine. We'll go, but if it's no fun, I have board games back at my house we can play. Damn. Now you're making me tempted to skip the library altogether and suggest going back to your place. My mother will probably be at home, so we couldn't do anything even if we wanted to. Your mother? She likes me. Not enough for us to have sex in her house. She likes me enough to pretend to be busy and leave us alone. True. Griffin turned the corner into their little neighborhood, stroking the side of Kyrie's first finger. What did you do? Heal her dying goldfish or something? Nah, I'm not much for fish, but she did find a stray dog once. I took him in and got him transported out of here. Figures. Well, Griffin blew out his breath. Thursday we'll play games either at the library or my place, and then Friday, well, isn't there a high school home game? Kyrie quirked his eyebrows. There is. Why? We could go to it. I don't know. Is it a thing people do? I mean, River and Madison go because their kids always want to see the football players, and people go to see their friends and their friends' kids, I guess, but I don't normally go. Why not? Well, it seems a little weird, if I'm being honest. I guess if I supported the team or the school, it would make sense to go, but I don't do anything for either. Really? Really? River asked me if I wanted to help him volunteer coach the Pee-wee team his sons are on, but I declined it. Ah. You'd look so cute coaching Pee-wee kids. I'd look cute coaching kids. Kyrie arched an eyebrow. Yeah, and I think you'd be a good coach. Anyone who can deal with dogs in a positive way has to be amazing with kids. You already have the patience, and kids are probably easier because they can talk. Dogs can't even talk. Maybe. So you're saying I should coach the Pee-wee team? If the job is still open, I think you would enjoy coaching the kids and teaching them how to love football. I'm sure River is streamlining them straight for the idea of being professional, rather than just enjoying the game. MMF. Yeah. River takes football real serious. Ah, yes he does. They reached Kyrie's place first, and Griffin walked him up to the front door before releasing his hand. Come inside, Kyrie offered, tugging his lips into an easy smirk. I have to take the dogs out real quick. You haven't met them yet, have you? I was a little preoccupied, Griffin said, his cheeks blooming sweetly. Kyrie bit his lip to keep himself in check. It wouldn't do to push too hard, not now. This won't take long. Then we can relax. With a turn of his key, he pushed open the door and motioned for Griffin to enter. There was a moment's hesitation before Griffin stepped through. Chapter 7. Kyrie. That's right. I didn't see them last time I was here. I could help you take them out. Is there a system? There's a system, but I'd have to explain it to you. You can help make them little night snacks though. I have dog bowls in the kitchen, and everyone can get a handful of dog food and half a banana. You can give dogs bananas? Yeah. Actually, everyone's got a specific diet that includes good human foods for their specific issues. How do you remember it all? Kyrie squinted. Ah. With my brain? You don't have a system. I have my brain. Listen. Let me get these guys out before they start yelling at me. Kyrie kissed Griffin's forehead and then paused, sucking in his breath. Sorry, he whispered. Griffin's cheeks reddened. He flashed a little smile and looked down. And no. It's okay. It's fine. What do you want me to do? Open the door to the backyard and cut on the light. They're all going to be excited to meet you, but the greeting can get, well, overwhelming inside. So it's better to greet you outside in the yard. Oh, okay. Griffin nodded, and they parted ways at the hallway. Griffin cut through the living room and unlocked the back door. Kyrie moved into the den and flipped on the light. An explosion of excitement greeted him. The dogs nosed at their crates. All right. Kyrie exhaled in a good-natured laugh, smiling as he unlocked 3 crates. The dogs rushed from the den through the hallway and to the back door. Griffin squealed. Oh my God, you guys are so cute. One of the dogs squeaked and whined with excitement, and Kyrie heard a deep howl from another. He pet Buddy and Spooks through the bars of their crates. "I'll be back in a second for you guys." Then he grabbed the wiggling Maltese puppy from a smaller crate and flicked the light off, joining Griffin outside. "They're so cute." "Yeah." Kyrie carried the Maltese outside, setting it in the grass. "The two fluffy ones are two of my old ladies, and the lab is younger but calm. The brown one is Nina, and the little black and tan girl is Sweet Pea." The sleek black lab trotted over to Kyrie, lapping at his hand. "This here is Charlie." Charlie jumped backwards and dropped his front paws to the ground, swaying his tail in the air as he bayed. He paused, propping his ears on the top of his head, and bayed again. "What's he doing?" Griffin looked wide-eyed towards Kyrie. "What's wrong with him?" "Nothing. It's just how he sounds. I think he's mixed with some hunting dog or something. He loves fetch though." When Kyrie said the word, Charlie rooted around the backyard before he uncovered a tennis ball. He bounded towards the pair and dropped the ball between them, prancing backwards and baying again. Griffin stared. "What?" "Oh, he knows the word fetch, so he brought you the ball. Throw it for him." Griffin bit his bottom lip. Kyrie smiled and snatched the ball from the ground, chucking it through the air. Charlie darted after the ball, slowing down when he got close, and then dancing in the yard before he leaped into the air and caught the ball in his mouth. He landed on all fours, shook the dust from his short coat, and bounded back over to Kyrie, spitting the ball onto the ground. Griffin clapped. "He's good. Did you train him?" "Nah, he came like this. I've had him since he was about 7 months old, and since the day he got here, he's been a natural." "How'd you get him?" "Found him skinny on the side of the road, on my way back from the vet. I think someone dumped him and left him for dead." Kyrie threw the ball again, and Charlie raced into the yard. The two girls snuffled around the grass, completely ignoring the game going on around them. "People are cruel." "Yeah, they can be." Kyrie held his hand out when Charlie returned with the ball, and the dog dropped the ball neatly in Kyrie's hand. "Last one," he explained, and threw the ball again. "What's next?" "We'll bring them all inside and fix a little night snack for them." "Do they always get a night snack?" "Only when I go out, and they're up for longer than normal. I probably wouldn't have taken them out, but I wasn't sure, what would happen with you and me, so better safe than sorry." "What do you mean, what would happen?" Kyrie smirked and whistled. "Come on, guys." Sweet Pea popped out of the brush and wiggled up to Kyrie. He gave her a stern look. "Did you pee?" Her triangle ears pulled forward, and she turned around, stepping into the grass and squatting. Kyrie rolled his eyes. The little puppy toddled over to Kyrie at his call, and he picked it up, again. Griffin giggled. "They're like little people, with their individual personalities." "Yeah, pretty much." Nina moseyed inside after Sweet Pea and Charlie, hopping onto the couch and settling herself, wiggling her plumed tail and stretching her paws out in front of her. "She acts like a princess." "Yeah, she does." "How did you get her?" "The vet got her badly matted, covered in fleas, and pregnant. She dropped her litter, and the puppies got adopted quickly. Then they wanted to know if I'd take her. They suspect she's older. I'm not sure what I want to do with her." "Have you had anyone interested in her?" Kyrie scratched the back of his head. "Yes and no. I mean, people have asked about her at the vet's office, but I don't have a lot of good pictures, and I don't really get to take her out much." "Do you have a website or anything?" "Not right now. I started one, but I haven't had any time to work on it. I've heard you can do adoption events and stuff, maybe at dog stores." "I'd like to, yeah. I think some of these guys would show great, and it would get them road-dated out of here. I guess I'm worried because I don't want them going to another shelter without me knowing about it." "I get it, but if you never try to find them a home, then they'll stay here forever, and you won't be able to help as many dogs. If you kept one for yourself, who would you keep? Who's your favorite?" "Honestly, I don't know. I like them all for different reasons." Kyrie moved into the kitchen with Charlie at his heels and the puppy in his arms. He grabbed 4 bowls. Hang on, can you hold her for me? Sure. Griffin took the puppy, kissing its black nose and cradling it in his arms. Thanks. Kyrie scooped out a handful of food for Charlie, and a smaller handful for the 3 girls, adding a full banana to Charlie's bowl. He split another banana in 3 sections and dropped a piece in the other 3 bowls. When the bowls were done, Charlie bolted from the kitchen. Okay, so back to our conversation. Which dog do you feel like is the least adoptable? Come on, ladies. The 2 female dogs eased off the couch and sauntered into the den, lazily entering their crates. Kyrie put the food bowls in and latched the doors afterwards. He put the Maltese away last. Griffin hung in the doorway, watching Kyrie work. Least adoptable is probably this one here. He tapped the crate of the pot-bellied pit bull as he opened the door. She grunted and trotted out, snorting as she waddled out of the den. She's a good dog. A great dog, actually, but she's not as cute as everyone else. He opened Spook and Buddy's crates, and they darted out of the room, running circles through the house. Oh. She's cute, though. I think she's cute. Yeah, but people don't want pot-bellied dogs with their nipples sagging the ground. They want dogs like Nina. It's because people are superficial. Kyrie moved back through the house, eyebrows wrinkling as he reached the back door with no dogs behind him. Guys, he yelled, a hint of frustration in his tone. The scurry of paws against hardwood raced towards them, and he opened the door for the 2 younger dogs. Olivia's coming. I usually call her Ma, though. She's pretty old, and she's been here the longest. Hell, she was old when I got her, now she's just really old. Griffin giggled. I think she's your favorite. She's the only one with an extra nickname. I guess. Hang on. I think she's in my bedroom. Why? Oh. She likes to sleep in the bed. When have you let her sleep in the bed? Griffin laughed. Tell me she's not your favorite. Kyrie shook his head and moved down the hall, pushing open his cracked bedroom door. The old pit bull had stretched over his bunched sheets and kicked her legs out beside her. Olivia. His voice was stern. The dog flicked her ears. Come on, let's go outside. Olivia looked at Griffin and looked at Kyrie, thumping her tail on the bed. She's so rotten, Griffin whispered, a smile splitting his face in half. She really is. After Kyrie coaxed Olivia outside and gave the trio a few minutes of running around time, he made small bowls of food for them too, and put them back in their crates, turning the light off. He looked at Griffin. So now what? Griffin smiled. I could give you another massage. Only if you want to. With sparkling eyes, Griffin pulled his shirt over his head and slipped his pants off. I do. I thought, Kyrie swallowed around a growing knot in his throat. I thought we weren't having sex. A massage isn't sex. It could lead to it. Griffin shrugged. Get undressed and lie down. Kyrie watched him for a minute before obliging, stripping down to his briefs. Those 2. Griffin nodded to Kyrie's underwear, and Kyrie rolled his head on his shoulders, eyeing the shorter man. His excitement, already pressed against the front of his faded briefs. Why? If it won't lead to anything. Because massages are better when you're completely naked. Plus, I've already had it inside me, it's not like we're strangers. Kyrie grunted and slipped his briefs off as well, discarding them on top of the rest of his clothes. Lie down on your stomach and get comfortable, Griffin explained, snagging a bottle of lotion from the side table. You like giving massages. I really do. Griffin lathered his hands before he straddled Kyrie, settling in the groove of his lower back and bending over him. Kyrie shivered. You on your back under me makes you the vulnerable one, Griffin whispered. It tells me a lot about you. Kyrie shivered, shoulders curving as he folded his arms under his head. Yeah? Like what? How open you are. How relaxed you are with me and yourself. How am I? Since the last time, much more relaxed with me. I like it. Good. You said you wanted to talk more. What about? About anything. We have the sexual chemistry. Now I want to get to know you. Griffin slid his thumbs between Kyrie's shoulder blades and up to his neck. Okay, ask me something. Griffin's hands continued easing Kyrie's muscles, and Kyrie groaned under him, closing his eyes and furrowing his eyebrows as he hit tight spots. If you had time and money, what kind of hobby would you like to get into? I've always kind of wanted to do car racing. Like drag racing. And, I guess, traveling. Traveling where? Around the US. I mean, other countries are nice, but I think the United States is beautiful, and I think there's a rich history here, even if it is deep in pain and suffering. Griffin bit his lip, sliding his palms over Kyrie's muscled back. I agree. How do you want to do it? An RV, I think. You know, roughing it a little bit, but being able to stop anywhere I want and not being tied down with flying and hotels. Griffin nodded. It sounds fun. I'm used to flying, but I guess I could travel in an RV if I weren't alone. Oh, you're planning our future now? He chuckled gently. I'm not planning our future. I'm just thinking aloud. It's normal, you know? To plan your future with someone when you like them. Lift up. With red cheeks, Griffin lifted his weight from Kyrie. Kyrie rolled over and settled again, using one arm as a pillow and resting his other hand on Griffin's hip. Griffin settled back down on top of Kyrie's hips, mashing Kyrie's cock into his body. I don't know. We're just talking. We are. I had this idea, you know. Maybe when I get sick of rehabbing and rehoming dogs, I could adopt older dogs and travel with them. What about the vet care? I'll make sure I stop in town or close to town most of the time, or get them checkups before I go camping or whatever. I just think it would be fun to do. Griffin nodded. Makes sense. He slid his hands over Kyrie's chest, stretching over him and kissing his cheek. All right. My turn. What's something you're always up for? Like something to do? Kyrie nodded. Yeah. What's something you'll never say no to doing if someone asked? Griffin sat back, bracing himself on Kyrie's toned belly. I guess probably see movies. I like going to the theater, even though it's getting kind of expensive now. So, if I suggested we go see a movie right now, you'd be down? Well, yes, but not exactly right now with you naked underneath me. Right now, I want to stay right here, but another time, I'd be down for a movie. Noted. Kyrie chuckled. You'd be cool with coming over and hanging out then? Yeah, I would. I like hanging out, talking, chilling. Griffin traced the muscles of Kyrie's chest, flicking his fingers over his dark nipples. Teasing, Kyrie rumbled. Griffin smirked. Maybe a little. Tell me, what's your ideal relationship? Griffin paused in his teasing and looked into Kyrie's eyes. What? Like what kind of relationship do you want? I don't think anyone's ever asked me that before. Well, I'm asking you now. What do you want? Griffin puckered his lips as he looked around the room, before lidding his eyes and focusing on Kyrie again. I want a relationship where I can learn from the other person. In my past relationships, we've basically had everything in common, you know? Like, we like the same TV shows, we like the same books, so it ended up being repetitive and comfortable, but I don't want comfortable. I want to be with someone who pushes me to be better. Kyrie nodded. What else? Can I say I want him to be sexy? I mean, sure, if it's important to you. Sexy, specifically, isn't important, but I want my heart to race when I see him forever. I never want to lose that puppy love feeling. I feel like it's asking too much. It's not. I want the same thing. Kyrie studied Griffin's face before propping himself up. Griffin slipped between his muscular thighs. Their bodies connected, Kyrie's exposed cock pressing into the fabric of Griffin's briefs. Griffin's cock grew between them, and he sucked in a quick breath. Yeah, he sighed. Yeah. Kyrie stroked his chin, lifting it up in increments and touching his thumb to Griffin's lips. His heart pounded in his chest, pulse thundering in his ears as he closed the distance between them. Griffin sighed, again, puffing breath against Kyrie's lips. Yeah, he said again, and their lips connected. Kyrie's skin burned as he pressed his lips into Griffin's. His desire bubbled in him, rising to the surface as Griffin's tongue passed under his lips. A subtle offering for more. Kyrie's lips parted, but then Griffin retreated, smiling and panting. His bright blue eyes glistened, playful and promising at the same time. Kyrie growled, flicking his eyes open as Griffin's lips brushed across his. Griffin kissed his sharp jawline. What else? I want the sex to be good, Griffin blurted out. I want someone who's open, who likes to try different things. Griffin's breath came in soft puffs as he spoke. He was winded by their interaction. Kyrie licked his lips. What kind of different things? Just different. Be specific. Kyrie slid his hands down Griffin's bare back, tracing the line of his briefs. I want to know what kind of different things. His hard voice softened on the edges. Ah. Griffin's cock flexed between them. His abdominal muscles clenched against Kyrie, and he let out a little moan. Okay. And not just blowjob and fucking. Sometimes it's not all about the ending. You like the teasing? Griffin nodded, looking down between their bodies. I like exploring the other person's body, talking while flirting and teasing at the same time. It goes away once the sexual relationship starts. You want to be dated forever. Yeah. I want to be dated forever. Even if I end up married, I still want to feel like I'm dating someone. Kyrie smiled. I like it. Yeah, wait. What time is it? I don't know, like around midnight. Griffin jumped off of Kyrie and snagged his pants from the ground, fishing his cell phone out of his pocket. Damn. You know, I should go home. Kyrie rolled over, grabbing the bedsheets and covering his hips with them. Why? Because my mother. She's old, and I want to make sure she made it home all right. You can call her and see if she's home. I can, but if she's not, then we can walk down the street. Your place isn't even 3 blocks from here. Griffin looked at his cell phone again, squeezing it in his hands. I really should go. Call her. If she's safe and home, then come back to bed. We're not kids. You don't have a curfew anymore. Griffin squeezed his bottom lip between his teeth, staring at Kyrie before exhaling a gust of breath. Fine. Okay. 1 second. He stepped out of the room, closing the door behind him as he put his cell phone to his ear. Kyrie flopped back on the bed, covering his eyes with his forearm and cursing himself for coming on too strong. Griffin was still warming up to him, and despite feeling everything Griffin had said, he knew their relationship progress would be slow-moving. They had obstacles. Griffin was gun-shy, and rightfully so, but everything about being with him felt right. It felt more right than turning down football for animals. It felt so right that he felt a physical loss when the other man stepped out of the room. He hadn't expected Griffin back in town, but he was grateful to the universe for sending him back, and he didn't want to lose this chance with him. He wanted Griffin. If he didn't know anything else, he knew he wanted to wake up next to Griffin every day for the rest of his life. Griffin popped back in the room after a few minutes, relief painted on his features. She's safe. River took her home an hour ago. Good. Kyrie stretched a hand to Griffin. Are you Big Spoon or Little Spoon? Griffin groaned. I shouldn't do this with you. Big Spoon or Little? Big. Griffin's cheeks flushed with color. Kyrie smiled, fussed with the sheets, and then turned his bulky body over, showing Griffin his back and glancing over his shoulder. You should get the light too. Chapter 8. Griffin. The next morning, Griffin dug an old French press coffee machine and an equally old bag of ground coffee out of Kyrie's cabinets. He coaxed the coffee into something drinkable, as Kyrie focused on the dogs. Kyrie took them outside in 2 shifts, administered medicine, and fed them before he joined Griffin in the kitchen. After a quick kiss, he fixed them breakfast and drove Griffin back to the bar. Griffin's heart bubbled with happiness as they chatted during the ride, and lingered in the parking lot for most of the morning, laughing and joking like old friends. Kyrie was, in a word, perfect. His boyish smile lit up Griffin's insides, and his easy confidence excited everything else. Kyrie was sweet but rough and strong at the same time, and he stopped Griffin's heart each time their eyes met. The previous night had been somewhat of a test, and to Griffin's surprise, Kyrie passed it. Now, he hated himself for even testing him. Despite the teasing, the flirting, and the nudity, Kyrie didn't pressure him for sex. Kyrie didn't complain or make backhanded comments about the teasing, either. They cuddled the whole night, falling asleep mid-conversation with Griffin's arms wrapped around Kyrie's big body. Their morning was perfect, too. Kyrie woke before him, kissed him, and slipped out of the room, tending to his morning chores as Griffin eased out of bed and trudged into the kitchen. The old, stale coffee was a problem, but Kyrie wasn't a coffee drinker. It made him more endearing. After 2 hours of conversation, they parted ways, and Griffin drove home. His mother greeted him with a knowing smile. He shook his head and fell into his work for the day. He spent most weekdays on social media, growing a following with his massage techniques and tips. He had a website full of technique videos, and a social media page full of massage students and clients chatting digitally about the practice. From his website, he made a steady but growing income. From his social media, he had gathered a collection of emails from various companies begging for a collaboration. His mother had received more than a few packages of massage oils and equipment from eager companies wanting the exposure. In the small town, he averaged 4 clients a week, which gave him plenty of money for his slim expenses, but left nothing in the way of savings or growth. He appreciated the simplicity, especially given his mother's frequent doctor's visits. By the time Thursday rolled around, it had been 5 days without any contact from Kyrie, besides a casual wave and a quick brief text message. Griffin appreciated it too, because he preferred the face-to-face interaction anyway. He finished Thursday's work early, and wrung his hands as he waited at the library with a collection of unpopular strangers. Kyrie arrived 10 minutes late, but he arrived, and a wave of relief washed over Griffin. The man squeezed into a spot at the table and played game after game, until the event was over and the library was closing. Kyrie walked Griffin back to his car, and with a sweet goodbye kiss, he reminded Griffin of their second date the following evening. Griffin had avoided thinking about it, hoping Kyrie would break his end of the promise so he wouldn't find himself at a high school football game on a Friday night. As slow as Thursday had been, Friday was lightning fast, and when he looked up from his computer work, it was already 3 in the afternoon, and he was supposed to be at Madison's place in 30 minutes. He shut his computer and whipped through his house, throwing on a shirt, fitted skinny jeans, and canvas loafers. "I'm leaving, Mama." All right, she called back. "I'll call you if I need anything." "Sure." Griffin shrugged on a light jacket and grabbed the keys, driving the mile and some change to the home Madison shared with River and their 4 kids. River's police car wasn't in the driveway, but Griffin heard Madison's shrill screaming from outside the house. He knocked on the door and it swung open. A little boy looked up at him with his best friend's eyes. "Who are you?" "Hi there." Griffin squatted down to the boy's level. "My name's Griffin. You must be Phoenix." "Yeah. My daddy said you were a dork in high school." Griffin pressed his lips into a tight smile. "Well, your daddy is right, but there's nothing wrong with being a dork." "Phoenix?" Madison rushed to the door. "My God, I'm so sorry, Griff." She rested a hand on Phoenix's shoulder. "Go on back to the table. If you don't finish eating, we can't go to the game." Phoenix stared at Griffin for a second before turning around and tramping down the shallow hallway to the living room. "I'm sorry." "It's fine." Griffin quirked his eyebrows and stood up, dusting his knees off. "So, I seriously can't believe I'm going to a high school football game. I was pretty sure I would never have the luxury of going to another one of these again. The only reason you're not interested is because Kyrie's not the one on the field. I bet if he were coaching, you'd love high school football as much as the next man in this town." HMF. Though Kyrie should coach. He'd be an amazing coach. He couldn't do it full-time, not with the dogs anyway. I think he should help River coach the Pee-wee team, but I'm still in the convincing stage of getting him to do it. I mentioned it, now it has to fertilize in his brain before he'll take action. Madison shook his head. You know, Kyrie doesn't have to be a project. He's a good guy. Don't try to change him. I'm not trying to change him. I just think he'd be happy if he coached the Pee-wee team in the afternoons or whatever. Anyway, am I dressed right? I don't feel like I'm dressed appropriately. Madison tilted her head and laughed. Yeah, you're wearing the rival team's colors. She pinched his blue shirt. Here, I can loan you one of River's shirts. She led Griffin through the house, peeking in on the kids in the living room, before turning to the right and guiding him down the hall. Thanks. Thanks. No problem. So, tell me what's been going on between you and Kyrie. I heard you guys have been getting it on ever since you gave him the massage. We haven't been getting it on. We got it on once. Was it his idea? Madison arched a skeptical eyebrow. No. It was mine. He was being sweet after the massage, and I don't know. I wanted to know how it felt to be with him. How did it feel? Amazing. He's good. Griffin shrugged. But of course he is, right? Madison's eyes widened. I mean, I guess. I don't have much of a benchmark. I've never slept with a full of himself former football player. Don't repeat this, ever, but the first time River and I did it, it only lasted 5 minutes. How long does he last now? About 7 on a good night. Madison smirked and shrugged her slender shoulders. There's nothing wrong with a quick first round. The second is longer though, right? Madison squinted at Griffin. Second round? Oh, honey, how did you have 4 kids with this guy? Stop, Madison whined. It's no big deal. I'm not really interested in sex anyway. I'm glad it's short. I'd much rather watch a movie and cuddle or something, but you know how men are. Men need it. He's the only one you've ever been with, huh? Yes, thank God. Madison handed Griffin an old red and white jersey with a faded, peeling number on it. Whoa. I can't wear River's old uniform. It would be so awkward. It's not River's. Take it. She waved it in front of Griffin again, and he snatched it out of her hands and straightened it out. It was Kyrie's. Griffin choked. Why does River have Kyrie's jersey? Because Kyrie didn't want it, and River was afraid he'd throw it away and then want it back one day, so he took it from him, and it's been in our closet ever since. And you think I should wear it? I think Kyrie would like seeing you in it at least once. Or he'll be upset. With you? Likely not. I think he'll like it. Griffin sniffed the meshed fabric. It still smells like him a little. Madison smiled. Hey. I'm glad you're giving him a chance. I know he and his friends were assholes to you when we were younger, but high school was kill or be killed. It's not really their fault things went down the way they did. Griffin changed shirts, draping Kyrie's jersey over his shoulders and fighting with the excess fabric, tucking it in the front of his pants and leaving the back hanging out. It kind of was exactly their fault, actually. They did the bullying, but it's just kids. It's not a reason to swear off Kyrie, is all I'm saying. So, if your kid starts being bullied, you're going to tell him it's just how kids are. Madison shrugged. I'll give him a hug and tell him high school is only 4 years of your life, and his bullies are hurting too. Drop off the last part. No one cares if bullies are hurting when they're punching you in the face. Not at his age, anyway. Well, I've got plenty of time to think about what I'm going to say. Madison poked her tongue out. Do you want a bite to eat before we go to the game, or are you eating with Kyrie after? I think I am eating with Kyrie after, but I'm hungry now too, so I could eat. Awesome. I was going to make an adult meal, because I am not eating fish sticks and French fries. I don't even understand how kids like fish sticks. They're disgusting. And they smell disgusting. Oh. I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah, they really do. Griffin winced as they returned to the kitchen from the bedroom. Madison checked on the children in the living room before breezing through the kitchen, turning a collection of raw ingredients into a sweet-smelling stir-fry. She poured the stir-fry over rice and handed Griffin a bowl. Chapter 9. Kyrie. The high school field hadn't changed at all in 10 years. Well, the scoreboard had been updated, and the bleachers had been replaced with equally cheap metal ones, but the core of the field was the same. It looked the same, and it felt the same when Kyrie stepped out of his car and strolled up to it. He went to games until all the guys he played with had graduated. After that he stopped, but he realized how much he missed the live action when it was staring him in the face. His mind cut back to all the memories he had made on the field. All the blood, all the sweat. He remembered feeling on top of the world as the player of the week. The quarterback. And he remembered looking into the crowd, seeing his parents' smiling faces, but also seeing Griffin's shy face in the crowd. Maybe he had come because of Madison, but Kyrie could have sworn their eyes met at every game. He could have sworn a smile touched Griffin's face each time too. The bleachers were already crowded with people by the time Kyrie entered them, and he scanned the faces for Griffin. Not seeing him, he jammed his hands in his pockets and strolled over to his old friends. River saluted him as he approached, and Rex's features lit up in a smile. Aaron, once an all-star defensive player, now sported a beer belly and a receding hairline. He nodded to Kyrie. "Looking good, Jenkins. It's been a while since we seen you out here." Aaron tipped a bottled water towards him before guzzling from it. "Yeah." Kyrie glimpsed the field. "Not as fun when you're not playing." "What do you mean?" "You're looking at the next generation of the NFL here. One of those kids out there could go pro in a matter of years. Don't you think you'd want to be able to say you went to his high school games?" Aaron fixed a hard gaze on Kyrie. "Not really. I don't think about it." Kyrie exhaled an uneasy laugh. "So, what's bringing you to the field tonight anyway? I thought you'd be home rehabbing your dogs or whatever." River looked up from his cell phone, slipping it into his pocket afterwards. "Griffin," Rex answered for him. "He's meeting Goofy Griffin." "Don't call him Goofy Griffin," Kyrie muttered. "Why not?" "Because it's been 10 years and we're not children anymore? In fact, 3 of you have children. What if one of your kids was the one bullied in school?" "Oh, my kids won't be bullied. It's not going to be a problem." Rex rested his hands on his waist and smiled. "I've had the boys in football since they could walk. They're going to be football stars." "I'm pretty sure you can't guarantee that your kids will be interested in football forever, but all right. Just don't call him Goofy Griffin. If you won't do it out of respect for another adult, do it because I said so. I'm supposed to be scared of you. Let me put it this way. If you keep talking schoolyard trash, be prepared to follow through with schoolyard rules too." Kyrie's eyes narrowed and he rolled his shoulders back. He was easily the most fit of the 4 of them. River came in second, but he looked between Kyrie and his brother and then directed his attention towards the field. Whatever happened between, Kyrie knew River was going to get in the middle of it. Rex scoffed. "Man, I'm just playing around. You don't have to get serious with it." "Yeah." Kyrie stared him down before he turned his attention away from Rex. He settled on the metal bleachers, pulling his cell phone out of his pocket and setting it in his lap. His 3 old friends chatted around him, talking about how their kids were doing in school, their jobs, and their unhappy marriages to their unhappy wives. Kyrie leaned back against the row behind him, propping his elbows up and stretching his muscled torso. "What, you trying to model or something?" River smirked. "Nah, just bored listening to y'all talk about work, kids, and women." "Well, I'm real sorry we're boring you to death." Kyrie chuckled. "It's all right. My mind's elsewhere anyway. River accepted his comment and turned back to the other two, continuing their conversation. It was another 30 minutes before he received a message from Griffin, and he received it at the same time as River receiving his own message. Rex and Aaron's families had arrived, and the two men had already settled their children and half-kissed their wives, leaving the women alone with the kids and joining River and Kyrie again. Madison's here, River announced. And I guess Griffin rode with her and the kids. Yeah, seems like. Kyrie read his text message before easing up from his reclining position and scanning the thick crowd for the familiar faces. River's children found them first, and the three boys rushed through the aisles. The oldest squeezed Kyrie around the middle, and the youngest boy stood on his toes with his hands stretched out to River. River picked him up. Madison and Griffin caught up with the boys. Griffin carried an overstuffed diaper bag, and Madison carried her droopy-eyed baby girl. Hey. Kyrie smiled as Griffin approached them and placed the bag on the bleachers. Oh. He pinched Griffin's shirt. Where'd you get this? Madison found it at her place. Apparently, I wasn't supposed to wear blue. It's what I had on before, so she gave me this. He looked down at the jersey before back up at Kyrie. It's mine. Yeah. Kyrie pressed his lips together as his emotions stirred inside him. Seeing Griffin in his jersey took him right back to high school, back to all the regrets he'd collected in 4 years. Wish I would have let you wear it back then. And what? Be the first gay football player in the history of the school. Griffin lowered his voice as he slipped his hands in his back pockets, flicking his eyes up to Kyrie. Yeah. I wish I had the courage for it. Kyrie touched the jersey again. Mama, are they going to kiss? Phoenix piped up as Kyrie inched Griffin closer. Griffin's cheeks flamed at the boy's question, and he snaked away from Kyrie. No, we're not. Griffin looked around at the rest of Kyrie's friends, wiggling his fingers at them. Hi, River, Rex, Aaron. Hey man, River greeted Griffin, offering a lazy up nod to him. Aaron waved, but Rex's eyes twinkled. His lips stretched into a dark grin. Hey there, goofy Griffin. Rex's grin stretched farther across his face. Griffin's face fell. The color drained from it, and he looked from Rex to Kyrie. All the softness and fondness they'd developed evaporated from his eyes, and they hardened. Kyrie froze, torn between two different actions. His eyes scanned over the giggling children and his friends' amused faces before he looked back at Griffin's angry features. Figures. Griffin scowled, yanking the jersey over his head and tossing it over Madison's diaper bag. I'm going, he scoffed and stormed out of the bleachers. Griff. Kyrie tore after him, catching up with him once he reached the parking lot. Griffin. Wait. No. I'm done. I'm so fucking done with you and your jackass friends and everything. I guess it was fucking crazy of me to think 3 grown-ass men would actually grow the fuck up. Just. And you. You're just as fucking scared as you were in high school. It's all fine and great, I guess, when we're gay behind closed doors, but heaven forbid you say anything against your friends, huh? I told him not to say it. And yet he did anyway. I guess your warning really stuck with him. Griffin's nose wrinkled. You know the worst part? The worst part is I actually thought you changed. I actually like you. But clearly I was wrong. I'm done. Okay. I'm done. Griffin's eyes welled with tears when he looked at Kyrie. Griffin. Please. No. He shook his hands and turned away, storming off through the parking lot. Kyrie watched him until he disappeared, and then he turned around, peering back at the bleachers. The game hadn't started yet, but he heard the announcer's voice booming in his ears. He was nauseated, sick on his stomach from the loss of Griffin, and he was angry. He clenched and released his fists as he moved back over to the bleachers. Underneath them, he spied Rex with his young blonde-haired daughter standing in line for concession snacks. He passed the young girl a hot dog and a tiny container of popcorn, and she thanked him with a high-pitched giggle. Kyrie approached the pair as they left the concession stand. I need to talk to you. His gaze leveled with Rex's. Now. Rex looked down at his daughter and winked. "Why don't you go join Mommy back up at the bleachers? Do you remember where?" The little girl looked from Kyrie to her father and nodded at his words. "I remember," she said, and turned away from the grown men, taking careful steps back to the stairs. Rex straightened up and looked at Kyrie. "What's up, man?" "I told you not to say it." "Yeah, but it was a joke. It was funny. I don't know why you're getting all bent out of shape about it." "I told you not to say it," Kyrie repeated, growling. "And you did it in front of your kids, in front of everyone." "Dude, relax, it was a joke." "It's not a joke if it hurts someone's feelings. Especially someone I care about." "Whatever. I get it, whatever. Are we done with this conversation? Because I want to get back to my family." Kyrie grit his teeth and dug his nails into his palms. His vision went red, and the hand at his side connected with Rex's face, his knuckles slamming into the bridge of Rex's nose. Kyrie felt the bone crack, and the skin on his knuckles stretched over his tight fist, breaking with the force of the blow. Kyrie's knuckles were bloody when he reeled backwards. Rex cried out with pain before he tempered his emotions and covered his crooked nose with his hand. He'd have 2 black eyes in the morning, and Kyrie looked forward to it. Kyrie rubbed his sore knuckles. "You always were made of glass." His lips quirked up. "Have fun explaining to your children why Daddy's got 2 shiners tomorrow morning." Kyrie turned away. Griffin was long gone, and he knew there was no sense in going after him, but he also didn't want to stay for the football game either, so he hopped in his truck and drove around the town, killing time until his anger subsided enough for the dogs in his care. He returned home and floated through his nighttime routine. Physically, he was with his dogs, but he couldn't get Griffin out of his mind. Seeing Griffin in his old jersey conjured up so many emotions. It had been a thing at their school for girls to wear their boyfriends' jerseys, and he never had a girlfriend in high school. No one had ever worn his jersey until tonight, and even tonight's memory had been soured. Worse, he had not confronted the situation while Griffin was there. Chapter 10. Griffin. 3 weeks passed before Griffin pulled Kyrie's jersey out of his laundry basket and looked at it. He held the thinning fabric in his hand, rubbing it between his fingers as he thought about the disaster of a date weeks ago. He hadn't seen Kyrie since, but he knew Kyrie was around. Kyrie had called him. And called him. And called him. Kyrie had left voice messages. The man had stopped by even, but he couldn't do it. He had washed his hands of it. He heard through his mother's book club friends that Rex sported 2 black eyes the whole next week, and Kyrie sported busted knuckles, but it was still too little, too late for Griffin. Kyrie couldn't make decisions based on Griffin's reaction. He had to make his own decisions, and he had to dump those stupid friends of his. Not that Griffin was interested in second chances anyway. But if he were to give one, Kyrie would have to dump his stupid friends, and clearly Kyrie wasn't dumping his friends. So clearly, he wasn't getting Griffin. Griffin steeled himself as he packed up for a day of clients. The only good thing about the event at the game was he now had more clients than he needed. His 3-a-week average had swelled to 3 a day on weekdays, and he started his day early, leaving plenty of time in between clients. Several of his clients had a long-standing weekly massage client. He finished with his current client as the sun set behind the trees and the temperatures dipped from baking hot summer numbers to breezy fall numbers. The sunlight dazzled his mirrors coming home, and he alternated between squinting and scooting up higher in his seat. "I need to invest in sunglasses," Griffin muttered as he lifted his hand, blocking the setting sun through his windshield. "Or maybe change the time of day I meet with them." As he turned from a private road onto a city road, an animal sprang from the overgrown shrubbery flanking the street. Griffin mashed his brakes, but the stop was short. The old tire swerved. No. He heard a thump against his car. Oh no. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Griffin shifted the vehicle into park in the middle of the quiet street. He lifted his parking brake and jumped out of the vehicle, rushing to the front of it. He had hit a dog. A solid one, too. The thick-coated creature made a few wavering noises but didn't move otherwise. Griffin panicked more. Okay. Okay, big guy. You're going to be okay, I promise. He pet through the dog's fur before jumping to his feet and running back to the driver's side. He dug around his car, grabbing his cell phone. Shaking fingers dialed Kyrie's number. Kyrie answered on the first ring. Griffin. Hi. His voice trembled. See, can I come over? I hit a dog. I tried not to. I promise I did, but it happened. He's hurt bad, and I don't know what to do. How do I lift him? What if I broke his spine? Griffin. Babe. Calm down. Kyrie's firm voice soothed him, and the man instructed him as he carefully picked up the injured dog and tucked him across the back seat. He kept the dog's body level with his head and wrapped him with clean towels stashed in the trunk. Okay. Okay. He's in. He's still warm, and I felt him breathing. Kyrie, I'm scared. Don't be scared. Listen. You need to drive directly to my vet. I will meet you there. Kyrie relayed the address. Aye, Griffin stammered. Breathe. I'll meet you there. Okay. Okay. I'm going now. Griffin glanced in the back seat. The dog had shifted from lying completely across the seat to resting his head on the side of the door. Griffin breathed a sigh of relief, then he reviewed a map before taking off in the direction of the veterinary office. He arrived in 20 minutes, and the employees met him at the door with concerned faces. Kyrie hadn't arrived yet, but the two veterinary technicians eased the dog out of the vehicle and inside an exam room, giving Griffin the option of sitting in the room during the exam or sitting in the lobby. He picked the lobby, and he stared out the window, watching the streets for Kyrie's truck. When Kyrie arrived, he stumbled out of his seat and rushed outside, jumping into his arms. I'm a terrible person. You're not. Kyrie kissed the top of Griffin's head and shuffled inside with Griffin still attached to him. Wait here. Let me see what's going on with him. Okay. Griffin disentangled himself from Kyrie and paced the lobby as the exam progressed. He squinted up at the clock. 15 minutes. 30 minutes. An hour. He wrung his hands, overextending his fingers until sparks of pain shot through his arm. The door to the exam room creaked open, and Kyrie emerged alongside the veterinarian. They wore solemn features. Griffin's heart sank. Is he okay? He's going to be, yeah. A little stunned. Some bruised ribs and cuts. We'll keep him a few nights, the veterinarian explained and looked at Kyrie. Kyrie nodded. It's going to be a good penny, but it's worth it. I can't pay for it. I will. Griffin quirked his eyebrows. How? Don't worry about it. The good news is he'll be okay. Then we can see about finding his owner, or getting him a new home. Griffin nodded, chewing his lips. All right. Okay. Yeah. Kyrie looked at the older woman and smiled. Thanks for being available. I'll be back tomorrow to check on him. She nodded. It's good seeing you. It's good to meet you too, Griffin. I've heard a lot about you, but I wish we could have met under better circumstances. A mothering smile touched her face, and then she turned her attention back to Kyrie. Be safe out there. It's getting late. I will. He chuckled. She walked them out of her office, locking it behind her. How you feeling? Kyrie touched Griffin's shoulder. Exhaustion had replaced the rush of adrenaline. His eyelids drooped. I'm fine, he lied. Yeah? You should get a hotel in town for the night. You looked pretty wiped. Not sure you should be driving. What about you? Kyrie shrugged. I gotta drive back. I have to finish up with the dogs. I want to stay with you. Kyrie hooked his thumbs in his belt loops, squinting dark eyes at Griffin. Well, I have to go home. I can follow you, or we can leave your car here. My mother has an appointment tomorrow morning. You can drive my truck tomorrow for your mother's appointment. I love you, Griffin whispered. We'll come by, Kyrie blinked. His mouth hung open a few seconds, and he cleared his throat. I love you too. He twirled his keys in his hand. Are we leaving now? Why, yeah. Kyrie unlocked his truck, yanking the passenger door open. Get in. Griffin climbed into the truck and buckled himself in as Kyrie walked around to the driver's side and climbed in beside him. He drove in silence with one hand propped on the steering wheel and the other resting on the gear shift. Griffin stole glances at him. What is it? Kyrie rumbled. And nothing. I heard. Heard about? I heard what happened between you and Rex. The two black eyes and the broken nose. I heard he'd have to have plastic surgery to set it in place perfectly again. What about it? Why did you punch him? You know violence isn't the answer to things. I punched him because I do what I say I'm going to do. Before you got there, I told him if he made it schoolyard, I'd solve it schoolyard. He took it there, thinking I wouldn't do it. Besides, he's earned it 100 times over. Griffin chewed his bottom lip. I guess. Did it hurt? I've never punched anyone. Well, it doesn't feel good, but usually you're so hyped on adrenaline, you don't feel it until way later. Like all your injuries when you were playing? I remember you got cut over your eye once. I always thought football was too rough a sport. Kyrie laughed. You remember when I got cut over my eye? Yes. You were watching that closely? Griffin's cheeks burned and he shrugged, peering out the window. I didn't want you getting hurt. I liked seeing you in my jersey the other day. Did you? Yeah. Took me back to my high school fantasies. Always had this same one, you know. All my buddies would talk about how their girls would come out wearing just their jersey and panties. I always thought about you doing the same. We'd get that hotel room, and you'd come out of the bathroom in my jersey and some little briefs or something. You remember how skinny you were then. You're still pretty tiny now. Griffin scrubbed his cheeks. Yeah. I thought about it too. Prom night and stuff. I'm not that tiny. Not as small as high school, no. You've got a little muscle on you. You're stronger than you look. Thanks, I think. Griffin wrinkled his nose. You know what else I thought about in high school? What? Griffin ran his tongue along the back of his teeth as he mulled over his words, choosing them carefully. I thought about fucking you. Kyrie's hand gripped the steering wheel. The leather creaked, and his long eyelashes fluttered, kissing his high cheekbones. Oh yeah? Would you let me? Yeah, why wouldn't I? Griffin shrugged. You seemed more like a top. You asked me to fuck you. No, you didn't ask. You told me to fuck you. And I did. I've thought about you fucking me too. Why yeah. I love the idea of you coming off the field smelling like grass and sweat, and then you lying down for me. Kyrie rumbled, yeah. He fell silent, and they were quiet the rest of the way back to town. When they pulled into the neighborhood, Kyrie glanced at Griffin. I can drop you off at your place if you want. I want to stay with you. I already said this. I was confirming. He pulled the truck into his driveway and killed the engine. I can run the dogs outside by myself if you want to take a shower and relax or something. I can help you. We'll get done faster. All right. Together they breezed through the evening chores with Griffin taking the dogs out and making their night meals, and Kyrie cleaning the crates in the backyard. Griffin met him in the bedroom after he turned the light off in the den and dug around Kyrie's closet for a change of clothes. He switched from a creased pair of work slacks and a collared shirt to an oversized shirt and a baggy pair of briefs. Kyrie kicked off his boots and ripped his shirt over his head when he entered the bedroom. I was thinking about keeping him for myself. Griffin looked up from his cell phone as he placed it on silent and rested it on the bedside table. Kyrie observed him, trailing his eyes over his form. Griffin's heart fluttered. It was the feeling he needed from his lover. Kyrie had always given him that feeling, even back when they were in high school, back when they had never technically said a word to each other. When Kyrie scanned the crowd at games, Griffin felt that small connection. His heart pounded then like it did now. Kyrie cleared his throat. "The dog you found? The one I almost killed?" "Yeah, him. I was thinking I'd keep him as my own." "What about Olivia?" "She's not long for this world. I'd keep them both." "Oh? Well, since we're talking about dogs, I had a thought." "Actually, I had a lot of thoughts." Kyrie raised his eyebrows. "Did you?" "Yeah. I think you need to expand, but I think the key to expanding is more organization. I looked up what some other rescue places do, and they make little information cards for the dogs, so if you had an employee, they wouldn't have to remember everything, they would be able to read the card." "Yeah, I was thinking about adding cards, but I haven't gotten around to it. It would help me too." "I was also thinking," Griffin wrung his hands and sighed, "I was thinking about ways to get the dogs adopted out quicker. Have you ever considered getting them little Adopt Me vests and taking them to games and stuff? Parents with children are at games. Dogs teach responsibility and compassion. Plus you can take them into the city too, and do events there. I already looked it up for you." "Griff." "Yeah?" Kyrie shook his head and smiled. "Thanks." He stepped out of his jeans and approached the bed, sinking down on it. "I also think you should help coach the Pee Wee football team. I talked to Madison, and she said the job is still available. Plus they need a coach who can teach them to enjoy the game for what it is, not treat it like a career avenue." "Fair." "Yeah. I mean, River's expecting you out there with him Tuesday evening." "What?" "I said I talked to Madison." Griffin flashed a wide smile. "I talked to her and said you'd do it." Kyrie frowned. "Who's going to watch the dogs then? They'll need dinner and walks around the time the kids practice." "I'm going to watch them. I've done it with you twice, and if we make the cards, it'll be easy." Kyrie sucked his lips. "All right then. I guess you've got everything figured out, huh?" "Not everything. Just most things." "Aha." Kyrie threw the sheets back and scooted down in the bed, turning his back to Griffin once he was comfortable. Griffin smiled and curled around him, kissing his shoulder and burying his face in the crook of Kyrie's neck. "I'm sorry for what I said before." Sleep already weighted Kyrie's voice, and he stretched over, turning off the light. "At the game. I'm sorry for what I said. I was angry." "You're forgiven. Sleep, baby, you said your mother has an appointment in the morning." "Okay." Griffin closed his eyes. Exhaustion settled in his bones and his muscles, and after a few minutes of deep breathing he fell into a hard sleep, anchored by Kyrie's warm body next to him. Chapter 11. Kyrie. Kyrie woke the next day with Griffin's cock poking him in the back, and his own saluting him in the front. He had dreamed of Griffin inside him, pounding him into the bed, and the dream reminded him how long it had been since they had enjoyed each other. Kyrie hadn't been with anyone else since his first time with Griffin, because it would have been a waste of time. No one would be as exciting as Griffin, so he saw no point in wasting the time. However, right now, he needed relief, either with Griffin's assistance or in the shower after he left. Kyrie glanced over his shoulder at Griffin's sleeping face, and then bit his full bottom lip before reaching behind him. He rested his hand on Griffin's ass and pulled Griffin into him more, grinding back on his lap at the same time. It sparked the same excitement as his dream, and his cock bubbled with precum. The purple head pulsed with anticipation. Griffin groaned, rubbing himself into Kyrie's back as his eyes cracked open. "Lube?" Griffin whispered. "Side table." Griffin kissed Kyrie's shoulder. "I have some rules." Kyrie groaned, muscles tensing as Griffin opened the drawer and shuffled through his things. Goosebumps rose on his back as cold air replaced Griffin's warm body. What kind of rules? Just two. Griffin opened the bottle of lubricant and stroked Kyrie's entrance. It had been a while, but Kyrie's back arched and his cock stirred between his thighs. All right, Kyrie breathed. Let me know when you're getting close, and I'm the one in charge here. The tone of Griffin's voice changed, and Kyrie's heart skipped a beat. He appreciated Griffin's dominant nature floating to the surface. He appreciated Griffin behind him, teasing and massaging his entrance. Griffin slipped his fingers inside Kyrie and then out again, circling his sensitive skin. Then his fingers walked forward, cupping Kyrie's balls between his thighs and stroking one finger over the base of his shaft. Kyrie bucked. I'm good with those rules. Good. Griffin replaced his fingers with his cock, and Kyrie opened his legs and let out a deep moan. Fuck, he groaned, balling his fists into the sheets. His muscles tightened, and he forced deep breaths through his nostrils and past his lips, calming himself as Griffin continued his slow invasion until he was rooted inside him. His cock passed over his prostate and caressed it on his retreat. He hooked a leg around Kyrie's thick thigh. Kyrie let out another deep moan. Griffin kissed his shoulder and the back of his neck, ramping up his slow movements until he was slamming his hips against Kyrie. He couldn't fuck as hard as the former football player, but what little roughness Griffin gave was welcomed by Kyrie. Once he settled into his rhythm, he didn't rush. He wrapped his arms around Kyrie's torso and enjoyed the process, bridging in and out of him until Kyrie's neglected cock flexed with each stroke. Kyrie dipped one of his hands between his thighs, wrapping his fingers around the head of his cock. Griffin purred, "What are you doing?" "Stroking my cock," Kyrie moaned. "Did you ask?" "And no." Kyrie shivered. "See, can I stroke my cock?" "No." Griffin's reply twisted Kyrie's stomach in knots. "Please?" "No." Annoyance colored Griffin's tone. Kyrie slid his hand away, gripping his thigh. He buried his face into the pillows, letting Griffin bring him closer and closer to an orgasm. He felt his orgasm teasing him, lingering at the tip of his cock. "Close," Kyrie mumbled, puffing his breath against the pillows. Griffin paused, sliding his hands up the sides of Kyrie's body, rough fingers trailing over his nipples. Griffin squeezed and pinched them, sending quick shockwaves through Kyrie's body. "Oh. Can I come?" Kyrie rubbed his cheek against his pillow. "No." Griffin started fucking him again, returning to the pace he had before. He dotted kisses along Kyrie's shoulder, nibbling the back of his neck and squeezing his corded muscles. He coated his hands with lubricant and slid it over Kyrie's toned chest, teasing his nipples again. "Oh fuck." Kyrie swirled his hips against Griffin. Griffin's fingers brushed over his cock. "See close," he rasped. "Griffin, come on." Griffin paused again, but Kyrie danced on his cock, frustrated by Griffin's teasing and how good the other man felt in him. Griffin wasn't hung to the floor, but he had girth, and he stretched Kyrie's entrance. He utilized his length expertly with his slow, timed strokes, and Kyrie shook under him. "Griff, please." "Can I come?" "Oh, can I come?" Kyrie's thighs opened and closed, and he let out rough breaths through his nostrils. "Please, can I fucking come?" Griffin relaxed in the bed with his cock inside of Kyrie, focusing on Kyrie's pleasure for the moment. His fingers brushed over Kyrie's cock, raked down his shaft, and cradled his balls. Kyrie jerked again. "Please. I need it." Griffin didn't reply, but his hands retreated from Kyrie's cock. Kyrie moaned. "Please, Griff." "Please," Kyrie begged, petting the bedsheets in his frustration. Griffin moved his hips against him, pushing deep inside him with each thrust, and he showered Kyrie's cock with attention too. With one hand, he stroked him many different ways, giving him a tight fist as his arousal increased. "Please." This time when Kyrie begged, Griffin didn't stop. He pounded Kyrie on one end, and on the other, he stroked his length. Kyrie lost himself in the pleasure, fucking Griffin's hand and reeling back into Griffin's lap, until that pending orgasm finally took over and he painted himself and the sheets with bright white cum. Griffin moaned with him, and his thrusts became erratic. He pulled his hand away from Kyrie's cock and gripped his ass instead, pulling his firm cheeks open. Cool air tickled Kyrie's skin and he hid his face. Oh. Fuck. Thank you. Griffin eased out of him and rolled out of bed. Kyrie rolled onto his back and looked at Griffin, eyes tracking him around the room. I like morning sex too. I can tell. Hey. I was thinking. Would you mind taking my mother to her appointment? I want to see how well I can do the dog's morning routine on my own. You've never done their morning routine. Kyrie sat up in the bed, pulling the blankets over his lap. I know, but I've helped with the evening twice and they like me. I think I can do it. It's the medications I don't know. I can write them down for you, I guess. And yeah, I guess if you want me to, I can take your mother to her appointment. Cool? Griffin moved back around to the bed, kissing Kyrie's lips. Thank you. What time is the appointment? Griffin glanced at his cell phone. It's in about 2 hours. If you want to start getting ready, I'll call her and let her know you're taking her. Do you think we have time for a round 2? Kyrie tugged the sheets away from his body, revealing his still firm cock. Griffin paused and cut his eyes to Kyrie, lips parting as he scanned down his body. No, because it would take too long, but you're tempting. I can make it quick. It's an appealing thought, but no. He changed into a pair of Kyrie's basketball shorts and a long-sleeved shirt. Get up and start getting ready. You're not going to seduce me into a round 2 by sitting there with your dick out. Laughing, Kyrie got up, showered, and dressed in a pair of jeans and a fitted shirt. He stuffed his feet in a casual pair of boots and brushed over his short, coily hair. He dabbed cedar essential oil on his wrists and his neck and grabbed his cell phone. By the time he exited his bedroom, Griffin was well into the morning routine, and Kyrie glanced at him through the window. He was playing endless rounds of fetch with Charlie as the 3 girls snuffled around the area. Griffin looked good in his backyard, and it felt right. It was how things were supposed to be. Chapter 12. Kyrie. Griffin abandoned the game of fetch and jogged up to the back door to meet Kyrie. Sweat kissed his tanned skin and he already smelled like sunlight. Hi. Griffin pecked Kyrie's cheek. She's expecting you. All right. I'll grab something for breakfast. Ooh. Yes, please. Coffee. Bring me coffee. What kind? A simple coffee with cream. And give my mother a hug for me. Kyrie squinted his eyebrows. Right. With another kiss, he stomped through his place, grabbing his keys and climbing in his truck. He drove down the street and pulled into Griffin's driveway, strolling up to the door and knocking. Mrs. Rowe yanked the front door open and looked up at Kyrie. You're early. I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't want you to be late for your appointment. Well, let me finish getting dressed and I'll be ready. Have you eaten? I made you a little breakfast when I found out you were coming. Kyrie stepped into the house and closed the door behind him. I haven't yet. It smells good. Oh, it's nothing much. Griffin eats funny, so I don't get to make him food real often, but you like down-home Southern food, don't you? Yes'm. Kyrie chuckled. I fixed your plate for you. It's covered in the foil, she explained. Oh, thanks. He hesitated before turning into the kitchen, picking the plate up and peeling back the foil. Mrs. Rowe had piled grits, eggs, and bacon on the plate. Is it enough food? Oh yeah. Plenty, thanks. Kyrie smiled and sat down at the table, digging a fork into the coagulated grits and taking his first bite. Well, I want to know for when you become my son-in-law. The buttery grits turned to sand in his mouth, and he choked around them, forcing them down his throat and then rubbing the center of his chest. The apples of his mahogany cheeks colored. What? Oh, nothing. Just wishful thinking. Kyrie took another cautious bite of the grits, rolling them around on his tongue. Mrs. Rowe buzzed around him, puttering with little things as he ate. You think Griffin wants to get married? Think? Griffin wanted to be a bride for Halloween when he was 4. He wants to get married. Kyrie tapped his fork on his plate, nodding. Well? I'll keep it in mind. Why? Don't you want to get married? Celebrate being with the person you love. I've never thought about it, honestly. Kyrie shrugged, folding the foil back over his plate. He wasn't hungry anymore. He discarded the plate on the counter and looked at Mrs. Rowe. You ready? Oh. Let me put my earrings in and I'll be ready. All right. I'll go wait in the truck. MMHM. She waved him off and dashed back through the house. Smiling, Kyrie returned to his truck, hoisting himself into the seat. He closed his eyes, dozing until his cell phone rang 5 minutes later. He answered it blindly, pressing it against his face. Hello, he grunted, sleep roughening his voice. Kyrie. Hello. It's Bailey from the veterinary clinic. I'm calling to give you an update on the dog you and your friend brought in yesterday. Sure, yeah. How's he doing? The vet checked him this morning, and he's doing wonderfully. He had a great appetite, and it looks like he's in good shape to go home soon. That's good. He's definitely sore with some muscle sprains, but he's got an excellent temperament. Considering he was hit by a car, he's one lucky dog. Yeah. Kyrie smiled. Well, thanks for giving me a call. I still have a card on file with you, right? Yes. We've got all your information on file. Perfect. Send me an invoice to my email, and then bill me whenever you're ready. No problem. I'll let the manager know. Thanks, Bailey. Kyrie ended the call with a smile. The dog was pretty damn lucky. He'd survived, of course, but he had also brought Griffin back into Kyrie's life. For that, Kyrie was eternally grateful, and a friendly, good-natured dog was the perfect addition to the set he already had. It would be a perfect companion for him, too. Mrs. Rowe emerged from the house, locked it up, and toddled down the driveway to the truck, climbing into the passenger seat and resting her purse on her lap. I'm ready. You've got to buckle in before we go. It's a law. The older woman pursed her lips but complied, and Kyrie smiled even more. Griffin's mother was something, but if it came down to it, she'd be a nice mother-in-law. Kyrie could see them both in his life forever, and he wanted them there. The belt buckle snapped. You're as bad as my son. He won't go anywhere until I'm buckled up either. So you tested me. Well, she shrugged. You know, back in my day, we didn't have seatbelt requirements. Driving just wasn't as dangerous. Well, back in your day, cars moved at a snail's pace. That's why driving wasn't as dangerous. Kyrie chuckled. He twisted around as he reversed out of the driveway and merged into traffic. Once he got them on the main road, he glanced at the older woman beside him. Mrs. Rowe? Yeah? She pulled her attention from the window, and Griffin's bright eyes peered at him through an older face. I love your son, and I'm sorry for everything my friends and I did to him when we were younger. It was messed up and wrong, and if I could take it all back, I would. Her soft blue eyes studied him before she nodded. You were all kids. Things happen. Yeah. I guess they do. Mrs. Rowe touched Kyrie's cheek, wrinkled fingers stroking his weather-worn skin. Don't beat yourself up about it. You were young. Yeah. Kyrie pulled into the doctor's office and dropped Mrs. Rowe off at the door, joining her inside after he parked the vehicle. He relaxed in the lobby as she went in for a series of routine tests and returned an hour later. The smell of sterilized equipment and iron clung to her clothes. He deposited her back at her place, helping her inside and getting her comfortable on the couch. He promised to send Griffin over in a few hours before he grabbed his cold plate of food and rushed back to his place, darting inside. Griff? I'm home, he called at the door, placing the old breakfast food in the kitchen and kicking his boots off in the living room. He checked the den, finding the dogs fed and sleeping. Griff, he called again. In here. Griffin poked his head out from down the hall. He was in the master bedroom. Did you bring my coffee? Kyrie narrowed his eyes. What are you, oh? Shit, no. I forgot. It's fine. I heard from the veterinary office. Yeah? Yeah. He's doing great. All the injuries are minor, which means no surgeries, just a long healing time. They said he's got a great temperament, so I'll definitely be keeping him. Griffin nodded. Cool. Anyway, your mother's doctor's visit went fine too. She told me something about your childhood. She is my mother. Griffin sighed, ducking back into the room. Kyrie tilted his head and wandered down the hallway. His curiosity drew him to the room. She also gave me a plate of food. Oh, she made you breakfast. Yeah. Well, she told me you wanted to be a bride for Halloween one year. Griffin was silent. Well? Kyrie turned the corner into the room and paused. Griffin had taken the room from a storage room to an office, complete with a desk, a computer, and a functional bookshelf. Kyrie had all the items lying around his house, but they hadn't been utilized in years. Well, what? Griffin popped up from organizing a stack of veterinary bills. Did you want to be a bride? Of course. Who wouldn't want to wear a poofy dress? So, you want to have a wedding? Kyrie leaned against the doorframe. I guess sure. More importantly, look what I did for you. Surprise, I organized your space, and I made filing cabinet slots for all the dogs, even the ones you've already rehomed or transferred. How do you like it? Oh, and I also made little cards for the kennels, along with a little baggie to put equipment and supplies in for the dog room. You've been busy since I left. Griffin smirked. Yes? Why? Because I wanted to do something sweet for you. Yeah, but why? Because I care about you. Do I need another reason? I guess not. Kyrie looked around again. Do you like it? Griffin wrung his hands, rocking on his heels as he stood up. Yeah. I love it. It looks great. Thanks. And it's easily functional, but even if filing papers isn't your thing, you can get someone to come over once a week and file your paperwork for you. I made the system very easy. Griffin approached Kyrie, grabbing the hem of his shirt. I do want to get married one day, yeah. Kyrie nodded. I get you have the whole marriage and wedding thing planned out? Griffin smirked. It's something Madison and I used to talk about, a lot. I know a lot of people don't bother ever getting married, but I kind of want to. I want the same thing girls dream about when they're little. I want a big ring, an even bigger wedding, and a sweet honeymoon, and I want it to be the best day of my life. I'll remember that. What about you? I guess I don't really care one way or the other. I didn't dream of weddings or anything, but if it's something my partner wants, then I'm down. I do like cake. Griffin bit his lip over a smile. I'll take it. But I require dating someone for at least 6 months before a proposal. I'll remember that too. Which brings me to another question. We dating? The smile broke free and Griffin's eyes glistened. Yeah. We're dating. Epilogue. Kyrie. Kyrie hooked his foot in the chain-link fence as he looked on the field, watching boys run back and forth with a football between them. The boys had won their first Pee-wee game against the rival team one town over, and the kids celebrated by playing a second game of football with everyone. No score, just having fun. Lucky, Kyrie's black Labrador mix ran across the field too, chasing the laughing kids and burning his extra energy. I think I'm going to propose tonight. Kyrie dug into his pocket, pulling out a black velvet box and presenting it to River. Why tonight? River took the box and popped it open, surveying the ring inside with narrowed eyes. Because it's been 6 months, I know we're right for each other, and I'm done waiting. There's no point in waiting forever when you know something's right. True. Does he know? Hope not. I want to surprise him. How are you going to do it? Don't know. I feel kind of nauseated, though. Yeah? Good. If you weren't nervous, there would be something wrong with you. Yeah. Kyrie took the ring box back and returned it to his pocket. I'll let you know how it goes. Or well, I bet Madison'll let you know first. Probably. Good luck, though you don't need it. River squeezed Kyrie's shoulder. Thanks. Kyrie whistled, and Lucky shifted gears, trotting over to Kyrie with a lolling tongue and wagging tail. They loaded into Kyrie's truck. They cruised back to his place as the sun dipped below the horizon, and a cascade of rainbow colors filled the sky. The dog rubbed his heavy body along Kyrie's side as they headed to the house, swiping him as he rushed inside as soon as the front door opened. The smell of warm southern food greeted his nose. I'm home, he called, shedding his boots and keys by the door. How was the game? Oh, hi, Lucky boy. Griffin squeezed the dog's jowls and planted a kiss on Lucky's square head. Our kids won. River didn't pressure them too hard. Lucky had a good time, as he always does. How was everything here? Fine. You don't have to keep asking me if I can handle the dogs. I can handle them. Griffin laughed. I know, but you had clients today, didn't you? I did, and I assisted them in the office. It was fine. I've been enjoying having the option of a space instead of always making house calls. Thanks for talking me into that. Good. I'm glad. With your business growing, it was time you had a permanent office space. Besides, having extra help around here makes everything much easier. When did your mom leave? Oh, a few hours ago. It's book club night, and they're supposedly discussing the ending this week. She couldn't miss it. He flopped his hand over, imitating his mother and her old friends. Ah. Kyrie swayed, jamming his hands in his pockets. He moved from the hallway into the living room, sitting on the arm of the couch. Do you know what day it is? Thursday. Griffin lifted an eyebrow. I mean, yeah, it's Thursday, but it's more than Thursday. Griffin flicked his eyes over Kyrie's head, looking around the room as he contemplated. It's been 3 months since Lucky got all his casts off. Nope. The first game the Pee-wee team won? Nope. Quarter business taxes? Well, okay, yeah, those are due soon, but no. Okay, then I don't know. What day is it? Griffin fixed his gaze on Kyrie. Still, even after 6 months, Kyrie's heart strummed in his chest, beating erratically when their eyes met. It's been officially 6 months and 1 day since we started dating. Griffin smirked. Is the 1 day important, because technically it means you're late for our half anniversary. The 1 day is important. Kyrie dug in his pocket, pulling out the ring box and sliding from the arm of the couch to the floor, bending one knee. Griffin watched boredly at first, but as Kyrie slipped to the ground, his eyes widened. Oh God, Griffin murmured. Do you know what you said 6 months ago? We stood in the hallway after you converted my parents' room into an office, and you said you wouldn't get engaged to anyone until after at least 6 months of dating. I remember. His voice was shallow as tears brimmed his eyes. Griff. I'm not really good with this stuff, but, Kyrie thumbed the box in his hands, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. He swiped tears from his eyes as he popped the box open. I love waking up next to you in the mornings, the breakfasts we share. I like watching you do your crazy French press routine. I never thought I'd find someone who fit into my life, especially with the rotating dogs and all the work that comes with it, but then you showed up. I knew I wanted this moment the day we made our relationship official, and every day since then has just strengthened what I already knew to be true. Kyrie, Griffin moaned, covering his lips with his fingers as Kyrie popped the ring box open. Griffin. Will you marry me? Fuck. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Griffin snatched the box away and placed it on the coffee table before he tackled Kyrie into the ground, planting a bruising kiss on his lips. Kyrie grunted, slamming into the ground and arching his back. He groaned into the kiss, devouring him until they were both breathless. As Griffin retreated, he nibbled at his lips. I love you, Griffin whispered, kissing Kyrie again. Kyrie combed his fingers through Griffin's wavy locks, cupping his chin with his hand. I love you too. Ready for more? My brother's best friend is coming soon. While you wait, you can read through the Fake It Till You Make It series, starting with Something Borrowed.